Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL Anderson expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's right.
And got the Coach Tommy Baffi back with us as well. How you doing there, Coach Tommy? Coach Tommy B.
Feeling pretty good, but the Islanders can have a way sometimes of making you feel good or sometimes making you really teed off. But, we'll talk about that.
Oh, God.
It's great to be here with you, gentlemen. I love coming on. So thank you for having me, of course.
Well, I'll tell you what. You want to know why TJ calls you Coach Tommy B? Is because he's not smart enough to pronounce most people's last names. So he just has to limit it to the first letter. He's okay, with most first names.
I was about to say Eve, and everybody else knows that I can butcher first names with the best of them, and Adrian. So, I try to go ahead and simplify it, Grump, because I'm not very articulate when I pronounce names.
We know. I'm just trying to be nice because I am the nice one here. You understand?
Holy crap, if that's not something I've never heard before. We've got a lot action-packed today. We'll be talking about what predictions we do have here for the playoffs, what we think, what's going to happen there with the Islanders, matchups as well, what constitutes there as a successful season. We've got a lot to dive in on. Obviously, some Ranger news. We've got some a special segment and a little caveat that we're going to be introducing new to the show here that Grump and Coach Tommy B don't know about. I've kept it in secret as of right now, so it's going to be a surprise to them as well. But before we jump in too much, we do have an ad there to read from DraftKings. And this weekend's UFC fight 262 is sure to be a can't-miss event. Every punch, kick, and knockout means much more with DraftKings lineup on the line. DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the UFC, is giving you a shot at huge cash prizes. For this weekend's fight, DraftKings is offering all customers a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. If you haven't tried it yet, Fantasy MMA is easy to play. Just pick 6 fighters, stay under the salary cap, and pile up the points for advances, takedowns, and more. There's no better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to compete at a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Plus, don't forget about basketball and hockey, where DraftKings has even more money up for grabs throughout the week. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code THPN for your shot at millions of dollars in total prizes throughout the week. Again, that's promo code THPN to get your shot at millions of dollars in total prizes only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
TJ, it's nice to see that you're back to your normal form of butchering the promo. Good job.
Whoa, I thought I did a superb job. I thought that was near flawless.
Well, that's when here's the thing. Maybe that's why you mess them up all the time, because you thought that was a good job. I mean, you only made 2 or 3 mistakes, so it kind of is what it is.
He expects perfection.
I expect perfection. I guess I'm shooting. I guess I'm. You know what? I shouldn't set my goals that high. I guess that's my issue. I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, it carries over in all facets of your life, doesn't it, there, Grump?
It does.
Oh, goodness gracious. I guess there's no better way to start off the topic. Big moving and shaking happening in the Rangers organization. I know it's not a Rangers podcast,
Why the hell are we talking about the Rangers to start?
Because I was right on something, Grump, and you didn't see it coming. I told you earlier on this year, I want to say even a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, I said, if he doesn't turn the ship around, I said, if Coach Quinn doesn't turn the ship around, he is going to be on the chopping block. Obviously, there's a lot of other issues that went on, but sure enough, Coach College Quinn gone, Grump.
I mean, who didn't see that coming? You're making some type of statement like, who didn't? We already talked about that last podcast. Now you're trying to take credit because they did the smart thing and fired him. They fired the president. They fired everybody in the whole organization, practically all the assist, everybody. So what, you thought that College Quinn was going to stay? No.
All I'm going to say is, Grump, however you might go ahead and read it, I was still right, grumpy old man. That's
probably on his way back to getting his associate's degree right now.
Well, the good news, guys, is that there are a lot of jobs at MSG right now to sell hot dogs and beer because they cleaned house. They basically got rid of everybody.
Oh, God. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I knew they got rid of a lot of different associate coaches and everything like that. I wasn't sure they got rid of just about anyone and everyone they're associated with them.
They're all at fault. Dolan just did the tyrant move. You're all out of here.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing, everyone. TJ has just managed to butcher not just the promo, but the whole podcast, because there's a little segment that's going to be called what is it called, TJ?
Conspiracy Corner with Coach Tommy Baffi. Conspiracy Corner with Coach Tommy Baffi. Grump, there it is.
And that's what we're going to be talking about.
Baffi.
And here you do that as the lead. Let me tell you something. You don't start off with a segment. You start talking about other things, and then you go into the segment. I mean, I hate having to educate you on every single thing that regards this podcast.
All I'm going to tell you is this, Grumpy old man. I wanted to bring it up. There's a lot of different issues that we're going to bring up and we're talking about today. Again, things you're not privy to, Grumpy old man or Coach Tommy Baffi. So that's all I'm going to say. There's a lot to talk about. Sure, we could talk Islanders first. I just figured, hey, the Rangers, I mean, boom, that's big popping news right now. And Islander fans love to see Rangers and Ranger fans in misery. So, hey, we get a free, easy pop right at the beginning of the pod. But, hey, we'll move right along. I do want to say this. Islanders matchup against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know, Grump, it was fresh on our Saturday evening podcast, live podcast. I want to kind of gather your thoughts and opinions there on the Islanders matchup against the Penguins here.
Wow. So I guess we're just going to ignore the Boston game and some of the things that I saw that could potentially play over into the playoffs. We're just going to, like, those games don't exist. If we don't do a podcast the day after a game, everything else just falls apart. Nothing exists. Is that correct? So I should just stop taking notes. I should just sit there and eat popcorn and, stare out the window because I don't need to know anything about the games anymore. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, Grump. I mean, I guess if you want to go ahead, read us your note. I don't want to read us your notes, Grump.
Oh.
You talk about the Boston game. I'm just ready to jump in, man.
This is jumping in. I mean, I think we should talk about the Islanders. I think we should talk about the games that they play. Maybe you don't feel that way. You want to talk about the Rangers. I don't know. Maybe we should put you on, I don't know.
I'm so
excited. Blues podcast.
I'm excited for the playoffs to start, Grump. I'm done with the regular season. Boop, on to the next portion. That's why I'm kind of looking over that last game. But, hey, sure, we can definitely touch down that Boston Bruins game. It wasn't a pretty one, though, Grump. But, yeah, certainly. Go ahead. Share some points.
That's why I want to talk about it. We didn't do really well. So, that's right in my wheelhouse, right?
I know it's right in your wheelhouse. I'm trying to limit your creativity today.
Thanks. I tell you, one thing I noticed is how the game had dramatic shifts, honestly. Just looking at shots on goal, the Islanders, it was pretty even the first 5 minutes. I'm watching the game, and then Boston just kind of took over. They had 17 straight shots on goal. And then right after that, the Islanders had 9 straight shots on goal. And then Boston had 10. But, the thing that I found interesting, the good ship Lollipop takes a penalty when he hooks Marchand, and then he compounds it with a very selfish penalty by taking a poke at the ribs of David Pastrnak. I mean, he went down like he was shot, right? He went down like he was shot, admittedly so. But here's the thing. Should Leo have done that? If Matt Barzal would have done that, they would have just been pounding the desks how selfish and stupid a penalty was. And to listen to the national broadcast, that's what they said, how selfish. That leads to a 1-0 goal. So I'm saying, are we going to hear from Barry Trotz after the game on how selfish a play that was, which led to a goal? And to my amazement, he mentioned that he thought Leo Komarov played great. I mean, so I'm like, what am I not seeing? I'm just kind of baffled by the whole thing. I mean, here it is, right? Poor Pastrnak. Look at him.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Look at this. Oh, that's devastating. I can't believe he did that. How selfish.
Come on with that.
Grump,
Give me a break.
Are you trying to liken that blow to like a huge hit there by Mike Tyson back in his prime, right? To the
I've seen a mother smack a 3-year-old harder than that.
Not that we're advocating mothers to beat their children like Tommy Baffi is. I don't know. The grumpy old man does not subscribe to that type of thinking. 3-year-olds should not be pounded into oblivion by their mothers.
I'll tell you one thing. And Tommy brought up this point yesterday when we were talking a little bit. man, oh man, right? I wonder if the embellishment from the way of Pasternak right here with this dive throw of the stick that goes sliding into the end boards and he's rolling on the ground, writhing in pain. Oh,
Well, but the funny thing was he went to they had to have a trainer come out to adhere to, and you know what? Maybe he hit him in a spot that wasn't covered by equipment. All right. Maybe I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he gets over there and he wanted to come out right away for the power play. And he was arguing vociferously that why is he not allowed out there? And the referee had to explain to him, well, we had to have a trainer come out for you. You got to at least sit out for a little while. I just thought that was interesting. So obviously he was able to get his win back in a fairly fast manner, where he was practically, I mean, maybe he lost a spleen. I don't know exactly what happened, but he was able to recover fairly quickly and get back out there on the power play. Good for you, David Pastrnak. I was seriously concerned about your health.
All right, first off, the trainer went out there to give him one of those little kitty Band-Aids with the teddy bears on it, because that's exactly what that play was. That is an acting job that, wait, Matt Barzal got fined $2,000 for embellishment? That guy should have lost his paycheck for the month for that embellishment. That is a bunch of crap. And honestly, if I had saw that and I was skating by, he might have gotten kicked in the face, so he earned the goddamn penalty.
See, I'm starting to rub off on Coach Tommy Baffi. He used to be sane. He used to be warm and fuzzy. But I'm converting all of these Islander gadflies to come over to the dark side. But here's the thing. All you have to do is watch and observe. The grumpy old man's always right. Like I said, I'm being facetious when I'm talking about my pal David Pastrnak. But he should have been fined. I mean, I just remember Sidney Crosby wasn't fined for throwing his head back when he was missed by 2 foot on a high stick. I don't know, but he wasn't fined for that. Funny how it works.
I mean, Martin should be fined every game for that freaking thing he's got on his face, that nose. That should be an automatic fine. But that's like what Pasternak did is so Bush League. It's so Bush League. That's not even a penalty, guys. Sorry, it's not. Guys love tap each other all throughout the game in front of the net, little hits, little pushes. That's hockey. That's playing hockey. That is an absolute joke. And honestly, I hope somebody does it to him in this Boston-Washington series. I hope a Ovechkin falls down like he got shot in a war, and they call 5 minutes on that. You know what?
I don't know if Wilson falls down after a love tap. Ooh, wouldn't that go ahead and flame the fires on both sides a little more?
He would fall down after a love tap, naturally.
Well, I don't know if you both knew this. This is probably news for you, TJ. Also, I heard that Brad Marchand has a new endorsement deal. He's going to be the new spokesman for Fruit Loops because he looks like Toucan Sam.
Well, yeah.
Oh, he's got that, that big old honker he's got,
What do you expect Trotz to say about Komarov on that play? I mean, what do you expect?
I don't know. You know what I'd expect him to say? The same shit that he says about Matt Barzal. That's what I'd expect him to say. Not to cover it up because he's one of their pals. If you're going to say it about one guy, you say it about the other guy too. That's
not for nothing. Not for nothing. In the overtime, I mean, Barzal was hooked like they were pulling him off a stage for being a bad performer. That's how bad that hook was. And no penalty, nothing. Boom, Hall comes down, score. Boom, boom. As Letty stands there like a freaking statue. I mean, but how could that not be called?
Well, you know what? I think that Nick Letty is starting to learn some things from Noah Dobson. He got undressed by Kapanen last year, and Letty got undressed the same exact way by Taylor Hall just the other day. You think Letty, being in the league, 10, 12 years, would be a little bit better on that. I don't know.
You asked, what do you expect Barry Trotz to do when something like that happens? When you see items like that, again, hockey, they usually don't do this, coaches in hockey. But man, oh man, come out there and say it. Holy crap, I thought that was a soft penalty. I thought that was a soft call. I mean, like, you never see coaches do that in a very rare occasion. I wish more people would out there and call a hideous call. Well,
he doesn't want the $250,000 fine, okay? That the NHL ridiculously handed out for the Rangers, for James Dolan's words about George Parros and his ridiculous ruling on the Wilson play. So Trotz isn't going to sit there and say, "You got to be kidding me! That's a horrible call. How can you do that? The league should review it." He can't do that. They're going to fine him out to you know what. So Zip.
Say, hey, man, I thought that was a soft call. I've seen a lot more let go there at a time period. And Grump, you were talking also, hey, what it looked like there.
Oh, look at that. Man.
Great goal.
Grabbing for air.
Great goal. Look at that.
I like that.
Where is he going? My thing is for Letty, what do you have to stop him from doing? You don't have to worry about him going behind the net. You don't want him cutting to the front of the net. And he bites. I mean, it was just, here's the thing. He's a 10, 11, 12-year vet in this league. You cannot do, he should know better. He should know better. That was a bad play by him. I'm sorry. Really bad. Here's Casey floating back.
Letty is not playing well right now, and whether Islander fans want to hear that or not, I will always speak the truth. Nick Letty needs to get his head out of his you-know-what and get ready for game one, because his play the last 15, 20 games of the season has held a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's ever since he got a whole bunch of assists, and people said, though, well, they were going to be protecting him. All of a sudden, he went back to how he's played the last couple of years. To me, the only thing he should be looking forward to is getting exposed in the expansion draft, because I would absolutely expose him.
Take his 5.5. We got two kids coming up that I absolutely love. And they're left-handed. Take his 5.5.
Yep. Anybody. But that's an off season. That's an off season. But I tell you what, the grumpy old man is already grinding on the numbers, grinding on the type of players that I don't want on this team. You can pretty much figure out who they are. They all make a lot of money. That much I can tell you. This whole off season is going to be about losing salary cap any way you can.
When you're talking about guys, not all team, I'm going to ask you a question that I think, the listeners of the podcast might ask you. So, I feel responsible to do so. Would it not have just been easier to go ahead and make a short list of the players you do like on this team?
Yeah, I only have to like how many? 9 in the whole organization?
I like a lot more than that.
10? Well, it's 10 guys, right? 10 guys.
Yeah. Is it 10 you like?
I think it's 10, right? You protect 10 and a goalie. I know exactly. Well, I don't know exactly. I haven't finalized my list, but I can guarantee you that the guys that I'm protecting are going to be, number one, young, number two, not make a whole lot of money. I want the Kraken to take somebody who makes bucks. You're only going to lose one guy anyway. You're only going to lose one guy, and really, without the exception of maybe Barzal, who else you're going to lose that's going to really matter? Maybe Nelson for making some money.
You asked me why I jumped in and started steering us towards the playoffs, because Grumpy, you have a tendency to jump all over the place. We haven't even talked about the playoff matchup, and we're talking, grumpy old man, about who we're going to go ahead and protect.
You just asked me that question.
That shouldn't be a question right now. That should be, the off-season show when you want to talk about what the Islanders are going to do to retool, what coup guys are going to go, expansion draft. Look, the Seattle Kraken signed their first player ever today.
Yeah, who did? He sucks.
I didn't even see it. I'll be honest, I didn't even see it. But I want to know your take. I mean, Grump, I'll get yours, and I don't want to get Tommy's also, but I want to get your take, grumpy old man, about what you think now that you've had a chance to kind of digest, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the matchup against the Penguins. What is your take? What do you expect out of Series 1 of the NHL playoffs regarding the Islanders?
I think I'm going to pick the Islanders to win because I just have to. You're on Islanders podcast. You got to pick the Islanders to win. You want people to come back. So, I'm going to pick them to win. But I just think it's going to be real tough for us. We have some advantages against them. We are better defensively. We have better goaltenders. Right now, our penalty kill is really good. Not that you want to go on the Pittsburgh going on the power play, but our penalty kill has been going really well. Other than that, I think everything else tilts towards Pittsburgh. Everything else. They can score. That's the one thing they could do. Sidney Crosby, as you've mentioned numerous times, he just owns us. And there's quite a few guys. I mean, Letang always plays extremely well against us also.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, and everybody's back now. Remember, and the thing is, they were not healthy, and they beat us 6 out of 8 games. And I'm not saying we can't turn around, but their game has gotten better since we played them last, and ours has gotten worse. That worries me.
I want to get your input too, Tommy. But first, are you drinking some apple juice down there?
Oh, it's just a little. Every once in a while, I'll take a little thing of bourbon there in my father's Air Force glasses from the 50s, and I do that for, out of my dad's birthday's coming up on Friday, so
Happy birthday, Dad.
Yeah, God rest his soul.
Maybe.
Oh, he'd actually be hitting, I believe he would be hitting 92 if he was still with us. So I do honor him with, I break out his, he was a war hero in the Korean War. So I'll break out his glasses sometimes for special occasions. And it's for him.
Nice tribute. Nice tribute.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry to derail the thought process, but I want to hear your input. I want to hear your take on the Islanders against the Penguins there round one.
Very excited about the series. I mean, I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. My first take that I totally agree with the grumpy old man here is the goaltending. I think the Islanders have a definite goaltending advantage as long as Volley is healthy. I think Islander fans have seen throughout this season. They saw last year in the playoffs. The ability that Semyon Varlamov has and his ability to really make this team feel comfortable in a playoff game, to know he can make that big save when they need it. And I think having a kid like Sorokin behind them is we're even in a better position. Not trying to slight Greiss, but I think Sorokin's ability from Greiss is worlds above. And I think the fact that we have those two guys in the net, it gives us a distinct advantage in the series. Now, what strong points do I really feel the Islanders have as compared to Pittsburgh? I like the line matchups. I really do. Now, I realize that there's going to be some Islander fans out there that don't like that Komarov is going to start this series off on a line with Barzal and Eberle. And I get it. Okay? But Komarov is going to be a royal pain, you know what? And as you commented about the penalty killing, Grump, he's an integral part of that penalty killing unit. He is a very good penalty killer. And the things that people don't give credit Komarov for, and I don't believe he's a first-line player either, don't get me wrong, but he does, he hits, he fights for pucks, he wins battles behind the net on the boards. He is a little bit of a dirty, nasty player, is he not? And he does bring a certain type of leadership that I think sometimes Matt Barzal does need. Now, I think Barzal doesn't get enough credit for his maturity, personally. And another thing I love is Jordan Eberle's dominance over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jordan Eberle owns the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think that line is going to be quite productive. In the playoff series 2 years ago, we talked about Eberle scoring in all 4 games in the sweep. And we also saw the Brock Nelson, Bailey, Beauvillier line dominate that series, right? We're going to see that line together again. And I'm pretty confident with the way Beauvillier is playing right now. I've liked Nelson and Bailey's played better of late. I think that line's ready and roaring to go. And then, of course, J.G. Pajot is J.G. Pajot. That kid never stops. Great motor. And with him playing with Wahlstrom and Palmieri, let's watch out for Kyle Palmieri in his playoffs. I see a lot of signs of life out of him. He's going more to the net. He's skating better. And, of course, if Oliver Wahlstrom's hot, I remember I said this way back on your show a month ago. I said if Oliver Wahlstrom is on his game, he is going to be a key to the Islanders' success in the playoffs. It's hard to believe I'm saying that about a 20-year-old kid, but nobody can shoot like that guy on this team. Nobody. And we saw that gorgeous goal he scored against Boston, right? He's had 3 goals in his last 5-6 games. So it looks like Wahlstrom's back in a mode where he can be a big contributor. And if I'm worried about a line, you want to be honest, I'm worried about the identity line. If I'm worried about a line being productive in this series at all, it's that line right now. The line's looking old as far as I'm concerned. It's looking old.
They have all year. They've looked old all year.
Yeah.
They'll have 1 or 2 games. To me, Ross Johnston needs to play. I feel that he's earned that spot. The $6 million man back in the shop for parts. I mean, that's where he should be. I think Ross Johnston brings an element, and I was going to say the same thing if we played Washington. He needs to be out there because he neuters Tom Wilson just by being in the lineup.
Yeah, he does.
And,
he does.
Yeah, and I think his play has. I mean, he's played the last couple of games. I think he's looked fine out there. You don't lose anything with him playing. And he brings that physical element. Nobody messes with the Islanders when Ross Johnston's in the lineup. They just don't. They don't want to get beat up. I mean, I don't blame them.
True, but we do have to remember that Matt Martin had a heck of a playoffs last year. Did he not?
I don't care.
So it's not the easiest decision. If we were playing the Capitals, the decision's easy. But we're not playing the Capitals, so we're playing Pittsburgh. And I'm at least going to give Matty the benefit of the doubt in the early portion of the series and see what they do. My only other worry with the Islanders, I think Pellick and Pulak are going to give Crosby's line a very hard time. They are the top defensive pairing in the NHL, in my personal opinion. And I think Pellick and Pulak are going to elevate their play. Those two guys got guts. They got heart. They're physical. They love to engage. And if Pulak can get a shot on net in this series, that's an added plus for us if that happens. I think Pellick has increased his offensive ability this year. Personally, he's rushed the puck up more. He's been a little more creative. I think that defensive pair is going to do well. I think Dobson and Green will play well. I like Andy Green's versatility as a defenseman, his wits, his leadership ability. I think Noah Dobson is going to really enjoy a series like this against Pittsburgh. My worry, and my ultimate worry in the series, is Scott Mayfield and Nick Leddy. Mayfield has been at best mediocre at times. He's had a game here and there, but in general, he's been bad this year. I'm not trying to knock the guy because the 2 prior years he was very good. This year, it is what it is. And when I see Nick Leddy's play the last 15 or 20 games, I see an uninspired hockey player. And if you can't get inspired to play the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round of the playoffs, then it's time to go. Time to go. And as far as I think the Islanders have a very good shot to win the series, personally. And I'm going to pick them to win the series in 6 games. But I am worried about that defense pairing.
I just want to say Tommy's analysis was filled with a lot of ifs and buts and a bag of nuts. So we're going to see what happens. I don't know. I just think Pittsburgh's hot. I mean, when was the last time we beat anybody but the Rangers? I can't even remember. I mean, how far we got to go back? The team we beat besides the Rangers. I mean, lost 4 games in a row to the 2 worst teams in the league, then get dominated by Boston at the end. I don't know. We
beat the Devils. We beat the Devils on May 8th. We didn't lose to them on May 8th. We beat them.
Did we beat them or did we lose to them?
No, we beat them 5-1. We killed them in that game.
You know what? I guess I forgot. I've just been in. But here's the thing: the regular season is over, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to remain positive. We got 4 days between games. There's no way the Islanders are going to lose another game between then. So I'm happy. And the one thing we have to come out, we have to score first. I don't feel we can go down to Pittsburgh. If we get down, we're done. I just feel it, and I'd still love to see Oliver Wahlstrom play on that first line. I want to see it. I think
next season.
Well, you know what? See, that's the thing. You keep going to next season. Everybody else getting old. So I'm just, like I said, give the kid a shot. I mean, I don't know. Why was he benched again? I forget. Why was he benched?
No. I'm going to tell you why.
Rest?
And I know you get mad at this stuff sometimes, but he's still a kid. And you put him in a 56-game condensed season. And I know you say, well, he's young. No, young guys mentally wear down more than the vets do. So when you have Oliver Wahlstrom playing in all those games and he's playing every other day, and he started to slow down a little bit. And we've talked about Oliver Wahlstrom's skating, right? Oliver Wahlstrom's the 2 things I love about Wahlstrom is he's fearless. If anybody's watched it, he's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid to give a hit. He's fearless. And of course, you have to love that shot and that release. It's fantastic. But he needs to go power skating lesson this summer and improving that skating and that lateral movement. Wahlstrom could be a 40-goal scorer on a line with Matt Barzal. I'm telling you all this right now. He has that ability to maybe be that step slower than Mike Bossy because that shot is Ovechkin-like.
I heard that Leo Komarov could be a 4-goal scorer if he played a full year at
Only if he was lucky. I did want to bring up a few points. You mentioned Nick Leddy has been uninspired over the last 15 some odd games. That's how he's earned the endearing nickname that we've coined for him for the last 2 or 3 seasons, Lazy Leddy. It's funny, right? Even if he comes out and plays uninspired hockey, I think Barry is a big fan of Nick Leddy. He said so there at the end of the Eastern Conference Finals when we lost in Game 6 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. He said Leddy was a country mile the second best player on the team. Varlamov performed the best. Nick Leddy second best during that season.
This is how it went.
During that playoff series.
This is how it went. Barry, who was the best player? He's like, oh, man, it was Nick Leddy by a country mile, man.
Whoa. I want to give Letty credit where credit is due. He did play well in last year's playoffs. Did they elevate him a little higher in stature? Maybe Trotz gave him a little more credit than he deserved, but I do think he played well in the playoffs last year. I do. So I think he does deserve that, that credit, because Letty's one of the most frustrating hockey players I've ever watched in my life. I've never really talked much about this. A guy of his skating ability, which is incredible skater, he's every way, back skating, lateral, front. He is a power skater's dream. Oh, there's a phone call coming in.
That's Lou. He wants to know, hey, grumpy old man, why are you not pumping up Nick Leddy? That's what he wants to know. That's why we got Tommy Baffi. He's gonna pump up every Islander player in the book. We're gonna win that series. I heard that we're gonna win that series in 3 games. We're gonna beat the Pittsburgh Penguins.
6.
Okay.
6.
And again, to give Nick Leddy credit, I thought he outstanding first half and even middle towards the season, but as of late hasn't looked great. And you wonder though too what type of effects Mayfield's had on him. Mayfield's been hideous, and I think it was an apt assessment there. Performed adequately to above average there the last 2 seasons. This last year has just been yikes. It's been woeful to average at best.
Yeah, okay, I don't want to get back into the Von Taves thing, but I'm going to tell you what. Scott Mayfield is the same player he was last year. He just had a better defense partner. I mean, when Nick Leddy was playing last year, he was the bottom defense pairing until injuries. He was in the bottom defense pairing, he and Johnny B. I mean, he just was.
Well, first of all, Mayfield's not a top 4 defenseman. I think people need to know that. He's a 5 or a 6. That's what he actually really is.
That's right.
Let's be honest. I'm giving Mayfield credit because Mayfield does play with a lot of heart. It's not an effort issue with Mayfield when you watch him play a game. It's literally a positioning deal and understanding the game and where goals are scored. Scott loves to chase guys behind the net and just leaves that guy in front of the net. All the years I have a coach, I always told everybody, you can't score from behind the net. You can't. You don't chase somebody behind the net until you know that the slot is covered. That's where goals are scored. Goals are scored in that little perimeter area in the slot, the red zone, I call it, of NHL hockey. You don't chase somebody behind the net until you know it's covered. That's my rule of thumb.
Now, here's the thing. Is it true? Now, I haven't been to an Islander game in a while, but I could swear I hear when guys are behind the net going, when Scott is out there and he goes and chases. I mean, maybe that's a fact.
Well, don't forget Scott also has this tendency to throw the puck towards the middle of the ice, right up the middle of the ice as well. And he's in defensive zone and turn the puck over almost like, hey, here's an alley-oop. Here's a wide open one-time opportunity here for you, opposing offense.
Mrs. Grumpy has seen that, and she's like, why does he – and here's the thing, she doesn't watch the Islander games, but our children played hockey, and the rule of thumb when you're playing, from right at the beginning is do not throw the puck in the middle of the ice from your defensive zone. And she's like, why is he doing that? Is that what you're supposed to do in the pros? I'm like, no. But why is he doing it? I said he's been coached by Barry Trotz. That's why.
Stop. God almighty, Grumpy. Stop.
That was an easy cheap shot. Very easy. Come on. It's funny. I'm looking at my hair today, and I kind of look like Al Davis at the end. I'm kind of worrying a little bit. And I just had that little pompadour that he had.
You worrying that you're on the way out?
My hair is on the way out.
That's gotcha. I couldn't tell if you thought you were pulling an Al Davis like you got 1 foot out the door, Grump. I was like, man, do I need to start looking for a replacement, Grump?
Both of his feet are out the door. I mean, he's been out the door for a while. I tell you what, I had a very nice conversation with Al Davis a number of years ago. Really nice. He was very, very nice and polite to me. I wasn't quite as old.
Was that before he drafted a kicker in the first round?
That was after.
Was Janikowski a first-round pick or a second-round pick? I swear.
First.
Oh, my God.
Ray, he was the first. He drafted Ray Guy in the first round. I think in 1973. Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's true. Arguably the best punter in the history of the NFL.
He was a weapon. He was a weapon.
He was that great.
But I digress. TJ, do you have anything? You were going on and on how you know something that Tommy and I don't know. I'm just wondering what it is. Do you want to spring it on us now, or
no? We'll get it there. We'll get there, Grumpy. We will get there because we've got a new segment too we're introducing here later on. There were some items that Coach Tommy B wanted to talk about here today. There was some news via the Islanders, because we'll get to the news on the Rangers thereafter, but there was some news released by the Islanders. And I'll kind of let you take the ball here with it, Tommy.
Okay, well, obviously, I can actually give. I mean, you want me to do the Rangers and the Islanders right now? That's what I want to ask about this. The news that I got from the Rangers and the Islanders. Which one do you want me to do right now? You want me to do the conspiracy theory? Or you want me to do the?
No, let's do the Islanders first. Then we'll do the conspiracy theory.
Okay. Obviously, Islander fans are excited. I'm a season ticket holder. You guys all know that. I've been a season ticket holder for most of my life. The only time I wasn't was when we were in the Barclays, and that's honestly because the travel to Brooklyn just did not make a lot of sense, especially for the weeknights for somebody like me. And for a lot of Islander fans who lived on Long Island, that was an issue. Season ticket holders are waiting. We hear this thing on Monday, an announcement from Governor Cuomo that they're going to increase capacity, and there's going to be a non-vaccinated section and a vaccinated section, and we're all thinking to ourselves, as we first comes out on Monday morning about this, what the heck does that mean, right? And I
can explain it to you, Tommy. People who've been vaccinated sit in one section, and the people who are not vaccinated sit in another. I'm just spitballing.
So how do you work that out amongst season ticket holders when you have a group of season ticket holders where some are vaccinated and some are non-vaccinated, and we sit next to each other at the games, right? I mean, personally, I have 2 tickets. I take my lovely girlfriend, Andrea, at the games. She's vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. And I'm not vaccinated because I had COVID in late January, early February. And until my antibodies and my blood test goes down, I'm not taking the vaccination to get myself sick. I'm not. All right, so I will wait until when that happens, and I'll get myself vaccinated. But right now, do I have to wave across the goddamn Coliseum to see my girlfriend at the game?
Well, I think probably you should think a little bit about your girlfriend and how much more fun she's going to have not sitting with you.
Well, I'll give her this. Andrea always says that I am probably the loudest person in the Coliseum. She always says to me, I can hear you from the other side of the Coliseum. You yell so loud. She does say that. So she'll still be able to hear me. She just won't have her ears ringing when I'm doing it.
I also heard that the hotter guys have been vaccinated. So that's something else for you to worry about.
I don't know about that, but today, guys, I mean, we're waiting. We're trying to find out. I speak to the rep. The reps are like, we have no idea what's going on. We were blindsided by this. That's my first problem. What do you mean the Islanders were blindsided by Cuomo's press conference? You're telling me they had no idea how they were going to reset up the Coliseum for the playoffs? That's my first thing. What kind of dysfunctional garbage is that? Okay, and then today, as I'm waiting, comes the season ticket holder letter for the playoffs. And as I read it, steam, like I'm not kidding you, steam coming out of my ears about the incompetence of this organization. And I don't like to do this to the Islanders. You guys stink. Some of you people up top need to be fired. Ledecky, Malkin, listen to me. Fire them all.
You came on the right podcast, Tommy. Coach Tommy B. If you wanted to air some grievances, you got the king of grievances right over here.
Listen to this, gentlemen. Season ticket holder basically all my life, and I get a letter that says vaccinated people, by the way, will be allowed to purchase 4 tickets total for the first round of the playoffs. So I'm thinking to myself, where is this capacity increase? Okay. Unvaccinated people can get 2 tickets, maybe, that it's going to be extremely limited to unvaccinated people. So I'm already thinking there's discrimination right there. You're discriminating against me because I haven't gotten a shot yet, when there's plenty of people who can't even take it. By the way, there are plenty of people in the medical world who can't take a shot. They can't take it for medical reasons. So you're discriminating against me because I'm unvaccinated. So I might be able to go to 1 playoff game in the first round of the playoffs. I might be able to. It says very limited tickets for unvaccinated sections. So they're warning me, you're probably not getting a playoff game. Am I right? That's what that tells me.
Oh, okay. I have a solution to your first problem. You said the steam was coming out your ears. I've told you before, Tommy, don't drink a gallon of water and then sit on top of your stove because
There
it's
you
not
go.
conducive. That's why the steam starts coming out. So I mean, I'm not saying that the Islanders are right here, but I'm just trying to help you with all your issues. Just kind of work through all of them.
Oh, thanks. My issues are fine. I'm thinking clearly, and I think this is an absolute disgrace. And I think the people who are running this part of the division of the Islanders for sales and marketing, they all need to be fired, let go tomorrow. They literally should lose their jobs. And honestly, people like myself are considering getting rid of their season tickets, and I am. Because tomorrow's phone call might be my cancellation of my season tickets to UBS, and my phone is blown up since this letter came out with a whole bunch of people telling me they're going to cancel their season tickets.
Think about that too, right? They've put so much effort and work into that and making sure that they wanted to have season number 1 as many tickets as humanly possible. They wanted to sell out those season tickets. You're not the first person I've talked to that has connections that has said they've heard from the top down that is number 1 priority at this time period, making sure that they've got the season tickets sold out there at UBS. So not a shock here either. Speaking on what ideas they could have, maybe if they had a vaccinated, unvaccinated section, I figured it'd be pretty easy to make sure, hey, we're going to clean all sections there after people come in. If you want to go ahead, like the smoking, non-smoking section back in the day, except it doesn't actually really affect if you're far enough away. No?
I'm asking this question. If they're increasing the capacity from 10% to 25, which is supposed to be with the new vaccinated section, be going up to close to 50 like Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
That's more than enough tickets for your season ticket holders. More than enough. Where are these tickets going? Where?
That's almost like another whole segment of Conspiracy Corner with Coach Tommy Baffi.
I don't know where they're going. Where are they going, Grumpy? Are they decided to sell the season ticket holders tickets publicly so they could jack them up by double price and rip off the public because the Islanders have so much money problems because they haven't paid a goddamn vendor in 6 months.
See, Tommy, that's why I like Tommy on here. Usually he's all pro Islander. He comes on our podcast and we let him blow off some steam, which he probably would not be allowed to do on the Drive for 5 area. I know that for a fact. But
no, I've done it before on Coach Baffi's Corner. I have. Most of my things about the Islanders are positive, and I prefer to be a positive person. Part of it is because I think that the fans need that type of leadership, and I mean that. We have a lot of fans out there who have been through a lot of tough times with this organization. They have every reason to be pessimistic, and I think that it's good to have people that are going to show them the positives of the transformation of a team that when I used to sit in the somebody pointed that out to me today. 1998, 99, I would sit on weeknight games with 5.5 fans, 5.5K for a game against Florida. I had my whole row. I could lay out. I could freaking put my legs out, stretch, go like there was nobody in my row. Okay, except for the person I was with. Okay, that's what I mean. So we've come a long way from those times to be able to have an enthusiastic fan base about winning again. And then you turn around and pull crap like this and stick it to your season ticket holders.
Yeah, it's never smart to do things like that to the paying customers. I mean, but to me, they do need to revamp that whole operation. I mean, and I think eventually it'll come to that, but you have to squawk about it. That greasy wheel gets the grease. What is it? The greasy, what wheel is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. I feel bad for you. I'm going to be kicking back on my, oh God,
get that off.
You talked about, and the thing is, we haven't had a chance to talk about that. You talk about, hey, there were some inadequacies there. Maybe we can relook at that. Maybe we need to examine how many, vaccinated versus unvaccinated are allowed in. Now, here is another item that the Islanders organization went ahead and put out here. Was it on Monday? On May the 10th. I think that was Monday. Look at this, guys. The new Bridgeport, the old Bridgeport Sound Tigers have been rebranded as the Bridgeport Islanders, and this is the new design and logo we have.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, what I was just hitting on, right? It's like, okay, we've hired Lou Lamoriello, Barry Trotz. The hockey side looks like things are going well. But you look at everything else, like you have yourself a third jersey option this year, right? And you don't put any thought into it at all. No one has no one. I guess they don't hire anyone with a marketing degree. Maybe they just hire some people who bag groceries and bring them into work. I'm not quite sure, but you could have had. I know people hate the fisherman jersey, but a lot of young people really like it. Why do they come out with those third jerseys, right? It's to make money. No other reason but to generate revenue. And they don't do anything in that regard. And then you see this calamity that they put up here for Bridgeport. I kind of like the Sound Tiger logo. This, you know what this looks like? This looks like something like where you go to a restaurant and they give the kids like a little activity book and they let you draw something. Hey, draw something. And then they hand it back to the waitress at the end and they post it on the wall. And, this looks like something they have a little contest. The best 3-year-old who can draw the Bridgeport logo, it's going to be on a uniform. This is hideous. This is who is going to buy a jersey with that logo on it? Anyone? No.
That looks like, at least when I look at that thing, I can break down this logo and say it might be one of the worst logos I've ever seen in my life. And that's been talked about a lot in the Drive for Five over the past few days about how hideous this. And by the way, we like the Sound Tigers logo. It's really nice. I actually enjoy it.
Me too.
That B is so big, it stands out to a point of annoyance. Okay, it's way too big, and I'm not going to use the term that it makes me think of looking at this logo. Okay, and the stick, by the way, it's upside down, you morons. Stick is upside down. Okay, number 2.
Maybe they got it up in the air. Maybe they got up in the air like they've scored a goal. Yeah. I know they don't score any, but maybe they'll have more of this.
And number 3, I'm pretty sure this was pulled out of TJ's coloring book when he was 5 years old.
It was when he was 9. The coloring book they pulled out.
9? Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, TJ. I didn't mean to insult you like that.
I never would have had the creativity to put the little NYI on the stick there. But yeah.
Honestly, I look at this and it reminds me of Matt Barzell. That's what it reminds me of. 13, a B. It kind of it's something like if you did a T-shirt, some knockoff T-shirt, that's Matt Barzell 13.
Are they paying secret to Matt Barzell? Is this a long
No phone calls. I mean, this is unbelievable. The landline is just on fire today.
God almighty, Grump. Oh, well, I'll tell you one thing. Lou did not like you trashing the living crap there out of this Bridgeport Sound Tigers, or I'm sorry, the Bridgeport Islanders new logo. I'll tell you, he was not a big fan of that, Grump.
There is good news, though. There is good news when it comes to this. You know that Bridgeport is going to be our affiliate for a long time to go. You know that that's going to be the case. Because there's no way that they're going to change affiliations now when you have a new logo and you're naming your team the Islanders. So we don't have to worry about them moving somewhere else or taking their affiliation somewhere else. Because I'm always trying to look at the positive on every situation. Unlike you two, I'm always here to be positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, they're not coming to Long Island. I've heard this stuff about Islander fans going, they're going to come play at the Coliseum. They're not coming to Nassau Coliseum, people. There is a rule, and basically the Islanders, anything the Islanders want to do to move teams in and out of areas in New York, guess who has to approve that, guys? The New York Rangers. Even when the Islanders came here in 1972, the Rangers had to sign off on them getting Nassau Coliseum and playing in that radius in relevance to Madison Square Garden. Okay? The Islanders had to do that again when they went to the Barclays. People don't notice. We had to do that again to get this new arena. Now, James Dolan was a part of the original financial, what should I say? He was part of getting the new arena in the beginning, and then he had to bail out because it was a conflict of interest. But he was actually a part of getting this arena here. Okay, so there was obviously some money in it somewhere for James Dolan and the Rangers. They're not signing off on the Islanders, AHL team coming that close and helping the Islanders out. They're not going to do that. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they're not moving from Bridgeport.
Yeah,
we're going to be Bridgeport for the long term. I mean, a lot of times they'll have an affiliation here, and then okay, we're going to have an agreement somewhere else. When they're changing the name of the team and putting a hideous logo on there, that they're not going anywhere for a while.
Wouldn't you love to see that logo hanging up on the Nassau Coliseum? That freaking bridge.
Well, it could have been Sparky the Dragon. They could have put a picture of him up there.
Yeah.
Is Sparky dead? Did he get extinguished?
Well, he
No,
must.
he's still there. Sparky's great.
I assume he's got to be out of a job. I assume he's no longer going to be the mascot there, the Bridgeport Islanders.
No, it's Stormy.
That's Stormy.
Oh,
Sparky was when I know when Charles Wong was here, they used to have him running around in the stands.
The Dragon. That's right.
The Dragon, yeah.
This is not a good week for the organization from a standpoint of public relations and marketing. It's a piss poor week.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. And you mentioned, you kind of touched on Dolan a little bit. I wanted to get your take because, it's time for Conspiracy Corner with Coach Tommy Baffi. I want to hear and understand kind of what you hear on the ground floor there as to what's going on with the Rangers. Been a lot of moving and shaking that organization.
Well, first off, as we get into this, with what's going on in New York Ranger land, in the land of Madison Square Garden, and I'm sure Islander fans are reveling in this, watching them clean house, and you should be. But there's also a negative to it, by the way, and I'll get into that. That's it was very convenient for Dolan to do this after the Tom Wilson incident. Okay, the $250,000 fine story that Jeff Gordon and Davidson were against him putting out that statement. Now, that's what that rumor is going out there, that he fired everybody because they didn't back him on a statement. I think you guys have both heard that rumor. Have you not? Okay.
Yeah.
Bull. That's not why they were fired. Okay. The number one reason with Dolan, and we've seen Dolan how he meddles in the Knicks, right? And you've seen Knick fans for years scream that. And I don't even like to knock James Dolan because I actually think he's a nice guy. Okay. I do personally know him. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, that James Dolan is now sticking his thumb into the Rangers, and he's sticking it up high into a lot of people's you-know-whats. Okay. And do I disagree with him? On some ways I do, some ways I don't. His team around the league is actually laughed at. I want everybody to realize this. The Rangers are laughed at as being the weakest physically and mental team in the sport. That's why Tom Wilson's able to get away with that. And then you got that farce of a brawl where we saw all the junior lightweights fighting to start the game. Guys who, by the way, couldn't beat up my sister.
But your sister's tough as hell. Just to clarify for people, Tommy's sister kicked his ass numerous times. Okay, so he's trying to sell Tommy would be like one of these guys getting beat up by his sister. Just to let you know. Continue, Tommy. I'm sorry.
And as I said, that was, the Rangers had to do something about that, right? And then, of course, Tom Wilson, being the coward he is, bowed out after the first period because he was afraid he might get run by some 5'6" Smurf. Okay, so whatever that might be, that's not why. I mean, Dolan was very upset over how the team looks to the other teams in the league and how they're believed to be soft. Okay, his primary target was Jeff Gordon. Now, if you ask me personally, I don't think Jeff Gordon's a very good GM. Personally. So I think his firing was reasonably justified. Okay. Chris Drury, on the other hand, who now is the new GM and president of the New York Rangers, this is why this organization is in dysfunction. He is going around Gordon and Davidson and going up to Dolan's office and reporting on those two and telling them why they're failing. Okay, so you have people stabbing each other in the back throughout the hierarchy of the upper level of the organization. And I'm not kidding you, that's what's been going on. Okay, and like Dolan has this thing for Glenn Sather. We all know that, right? Like, Glenn Sather is the greatest man on earth when it comes to Mr. Dolan. Okay, and he still consults with Mr. Dolan.
Yep.
Okay, Drury caught his ear, and here's Dolan getting madder and madder and madder that they're not making the playoffs. And believe it or not, it is totally true that the New York Islanders' decimation of the Rangers played a part in this. The fact that we shut them out, 4 times, that we embarrassed them on the ice almost every time we played them. Okay, so we had a big part in Dolan being very upset. Okay, and then he gets to watch his prized player get grabbed by the hair and tossed down like he's a 4-year-old girl. Okay, all that stuff, just he had enough. Now, for people, Davidson was actually going to be allowed to stay. I want everybody to know this. Gordon was going. He was firing Jeff Gordon. That was it. And he wanted Quinn out. And we saw Quinn go today. Drury tried to save Quinn. Drury and Quinn are very close. But Dolan was not allowing Drury to save Quinn. And that's why Quinn is gone. And Drury didn't care. I want this job. So Drury's like Dolan's puppet now.
He's like a rat bastard is what Chris Drury seems like. He's a rat. He's a rat. Good.
This is why
now I really hate the Rangers because now they got a rat leading this ship.
Davidson, who I think is a great hockey man.
So do I.
And I know Island fans will hate to say that. I think Davidson's one of the classiest, most dignified people in the NHL. And he reminds me in one way. He reminds me of Gosno that they're both very good talent evaluators. I know you guys, but Gosno is a good talent evaluator. That's the one thing he does well. He doesn't do the other things well, but he can draft and find good players. He just doesn't know how to freaking develop them. But Davidson's very good at that. But I think Davidson lived in a dysfunctional world between Dolan, Gordon, Drury, and this whole mess. And by the way, we all heard Ryan Strome make a quote earlier in this week. And Ryan Strome, ex-New York Islander Ryan Strome, who's obviously done very well with the Rangers in a production area. He's the player we hoped he'd be when we drafted him 5th overall, right? Strome came out and said, I have seen some of the strangest things I have ever seen this season with the New York Rangers. So does that play into Tony DeAngelo's attitude and the garbage that he pulled to get basically kicked off this team? The Rangers are dysfunctional, Islander fans. So they are completely dysfunctional. And here's why you should be upset that all these people got cleared out. Because what if they hire good people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing was College Quinn had to go. I mean,
horrible.
He's not an NHL coach. He just isn't. He's a college coach. Good for him. But to me, I think it was a mistake getting rid of those two guys. Remember, they rebuilt from the studs up just 3 years ago. And the things that they're missing, you mentioned how they're soft. Those are easy fixes. To me, the hardest thing to do is get talented players on your team. You can get a grinder anywhere. If they want a grinder, they can just come to our locker room. Grinders are us. We got plenty. They can take anybody off our roster that they want. I'd give up some of our grinders for some skill any day of the week. I just think that it's kind of impetuous, and he let the rat. That's Drew's new name, the rat. He went out there and he let this guy backstab two guys in his organization. You know what? If he was doing a bad job, you know what I said? Okay, Davidson, Gordon, you have to go. Rat, you're gone too, because you know what? You're a backstabbing little bastard. You're out of here. So I would right over start the whole thing over.
Can I ask you, gentlemen, something about this? We go into that Capital game after the Tom Wilson incident, right? And I just stated that they had guys that couldn't beat up my sister fight right off the bench to start the game. I'm asking a question. Where is Keandre Miller in all this? 6'5", 220, young, physical, powerful defenseman. Why is he not engaging in getting into a fight? That's the guy that's got to show leadership as a young man. I can tell you right now, Dennis Potvin would have been the first freaking guy when he was young to go attack somebody and fight somebody for his teammate. I found things like that puzzling. That I'd trade that kid. I'd trade him.
Well,
if you're not going to stand up for my freaking guys, you're not going to stand up for Panarin, you're not going to stand up for Buchevitz. That's when you're that big of a guy, you got to do something. Sometimes
I'll tell you this. Sometimes the young kids, it takes them a little while longer to realize, like, okay, I'm not so much out of my depth as I think. Even though, again, I'm not saying he's got issues there where he thinks he's inadequate. This is his first full year in the league. I always feel like you have that looming thought in the back of your head, like, this is the real deal. I'm a professional now. And he's only played 50 some odd games in the NHL. I could see him feeling like, okay, maybe I subconsciously, I'm not on the same level of these adults. What is he, 20, 21 years old?
Yeah.
I give him a little bit of a pass on that. I mean, like, if he's older, I'm with you. 25, 26 years old. Hey, you're a vet. You're a grizzled vet. You know what you need to do.
I want to say one thing.
Stop for a sec. I'll tell you one thing too. I guarantee you, coach told him that too. I never want to see you let player XYZ get jumped without you jumping in. That always happens. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do on that side, I'm telling you, coaches letting you know,
You know, I personally know this, that before the game started, and Boleto is from Island Park, one town over from where I live here in Long Beach. Okay, he's like McAvoy grew up here from the Boston Bruins. Okay, I literally got a text at 6:00. I can't use the name from, I can't tell you who told me Boleto was already told to go get into a fight tonight and attack somebody on the Capitals, and he got in a fight. Did he not?
Yep.
Yes, he did. 1 hour before the game, I had that text. It's still on my phone, and I'm like, yeah, really? And then there he goes. And that kid's got a lot of guts. I have respect for him.
It could be that they told the guys to have a fight, but Chara was out on the ice, and they didn't need DeAndre Miller getting his ass kicked by a 44-year-old man. That's something. You think about your sister beating him up. Zdeno Chara can really throw some punches too. But I want to say something. TJ, you mentioned some of the a younger player maybe not wanting to do that. I'm going to tell you a younger player on our team who would do that. Oliver Wahlstrom is not afraid to mix it up. Neither is Matt Barzell. We got our veterans, Croc Nelson, number one. He who got ragdolled on Monday night by Charlie McAvoy. That's the Brock Nelson of old. Just getting slammed up against the wall, thrown down on the ice, and no fight back whatsoever. I mean, remember last year, Average did it. He came out and he stood up for his guys, and I'll give him credit for that because he's no fighter either. But I'm going to give him credit for that. You ever see Croc Nelson doing that? Absolutely not. You ever see Bailey doing that? Absolutely not. You know what? The Mr. Softy truck needs to leave town on this roster. I'm telling you right now.
So to answer your question, yeah,
I didn't have a question.
Some players understand how to do that. Some players don't, and some players never will be. So again, I'll give the kid the benefit of the doubt. Again, if he was older and you see that at his size, was he? Do you say 6'7" or is he 6'5"?
He's 6'5", no.
He's a well put together kid, and he's going to continue to add more weight to his frame too the older he gets. But I mean, that would draw more red flags, the older he gets. And I understand that thought process, but you can't be that big and not use your body the older you get. So I understand it, but maybe I give him a little bit of leeway just because he's young.
And they have kind of weeded fighting out of the game, particularly on the junior levels as well.
Yes.
So maybe he doesn't know how to fight. I mean, you had to know how to fight back in the day. You had to. Now, not so much. But
junior level hockey used to be a bigger brawl-a-thon than the NHL. For people who don't know that, and it was a league where nobody used to get suspended. You could pretty much do whatever you wanted to do to whoever you wanted to do it to, and you would not get suspended back in the day in juniors. It was some crazy stuff going on in those games.
Yeah, it was like the Wild West. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I love those games, and like I said, it's funny. I'm watching that Ranger Capital game, and I'm like, to me. First of all, why would Laviolette – I know he wasn't suspended for a game, but why would Laviolette play Wilson? To me, it made no sense. You knew you were going to beat the Rangers. Do you think if Tom Wilson wasn't playing, it wouldn't have escalated the way it did? That's what I think. Just save it for next year. That's my thought. I thought that was a mistake by Laviolette, and then I think after that first period when they still had more fights, it was like, you know what, pull him out of the game. Just pull him out. I don't think he was hurt. I just think he said, you know what, just sit out the rest. Let's stop making a mockery of it. Because you knew that the officials absolutely knew there was going to be a fight at the opening faceoff. They did.
Of course they knew.
And they go and they talk to the coaches, not once, but twice. And it's like, and they let them go again. And eventually, the referees could stop that if they want.
Look, I was given a text from a local person who knows Boleto, who's very close to Boleto. They're like best of friends, who told me he's going to get into a fight tonight. He was ordered to fight by the Rangers. So they already knew before the game what they were going to do and who they were going to line up and who was going to do what. I was just a little surprised at the players they lined up to fight. That's kind of my complaint. I figured they were going to take their 5 toughest guys and put them out there on the opening shift and say, have fun, go have a good time. Collect some teeth, pick them up off the ice, put them in a jar. That's what hockey always used to be about, by the way. The old joke about hockey was what? I went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
That's another one. Either one. And by the way, as fans, we loved it. I'm going to tell you that sitting 3 rows off the ice for most of my life at Nassau Coliseum, we loved those moments. A man like Mick Vukota, we loved him. Mick Vukota would fight anybody, anytime, and everybody on the other teams knew that if you screw with any of the Owls, Mick Vukota, you're going to have to answer to Mick Vukota.
Yep.
Well, I do want to kind of use that kind of segue there into the next portion of today's talk. Now, we talked a little bit about this, I think, even on our last podcast. Now we kind of know, or the last time Coach Tommy was on the podcast. Now we know who we're playing against. We know kind of where the playoff seeds lie. I want to have both you guys weigh in on what would constitute as a successful season as opposed to an unsuccessful season here this year.
Oh, you take that first, Grump.
You have to, for me, you have to make it just as far as you made it last year. This is an older team, whereas if you're taking, in my opinion, if you're taking a step back, it's a failure. It's not like a young team can go through some growing pains and maybe take a step back. With the average age of this team, if we take a step back, it's like just another nail in the coffin, as far as I'm concerned. So we have to at least get to the semifinals.
And that's a fair analysis. I mean, in the world of sports, I mean, when you accomplish something, you normally the accomplishment you want to achieve is to go to the next level, right? I mean, that's normally the object of progression. Now, one thing I say, it's hard to judge off of last season and this season because they weren't normal seasons, right? We watched a bubble season. See, the regular season was over, and they put them in a bubble and said everybody play playoffs 3 months later, 3-4 months later, and they put you in a bubble and one game on top of the other. And this season, 56-game condensed season, basically done in 3 months. So it makes it a little harder for me personally to judge what is a success and not a success based on that, because this isn't a typical NHL season. However, if you're the Islanders, it's hard. I'm not going to take a pass on it because I'm going to tell you what I think. But we are in the best division, right, guys? This is the best division with the toughest teams.
For certain.
We don't know. We don't know because we haven't seen the other teams in their divisions. We don't know.
Well, that's fair, actually. That's fair.
I will say that at the top, it's extremely balanced. That's what I will say.
Yeah.
And I feel that we're definitely better than the North Division.
Yeah, and I'm not giving a homer prediction to you guys when I tell you I think the Islanders are going to beat the Penguins. I honestly think they are. I think we're better made for the playoffs. I know the Penguins are more talented. I think the Islanders have a lot more heart, and I do, like you said, I think our goaltending wins out in the series. That's why I think we win the series, personally. Can the Islanders get out of this division? And I think yes. And I think you have to take it as a failure if we don't get out. If we don't get out of this division, despite how difficult it is, and we went to the conference finals last year and lost to the Stanley Cup champions, I think we have to take it as a failure. If we get out of the division, I have to say, good job, guys. Great job. You at least did that. You battled through 2 really hard teams, and you got the job done. I'm gonna consider that a success.
Yeah, and even if you don't make it further than last year, and I look at it like this, I'm going to be the first person to tell you there's no way in hell I will ever make an excuse the fact that we lost Anders Lee negatively impacted us. But it would be foolish if you completely omit that. Because, again, if you make it to the same point, the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe now we can argue, hey, if we had that, Anders Lee, even though you call him average Grump, that is better than having a guy like a Leo Komarov there on the first line.
Yeah, but he's no difference maker. He's not a difference maker. Does he make us a better team? Yes, but he's not a difference maker on the ice.
Okay, is he not substantially head over heels better than what we have out there in Leo Komarov? We can all agree on that, right?
I don't know. You listen to Barry, it's almost like they're interchangeable.
They're not interchangeable.
I'm just going by what the coach Barry Cross said. They're interchangeable.
But you can't. I'm sorry, but this is sometimes where people need to understand something. You can't expect the coach going into a playoff series to try and downgrade the player's performance and ask for a lesser expectation. You want players to rise up and honestly play better than they are. I mean, that's how you win Stanley Cups. You rise up and play better than you actually are. Look, winning the Stanley Cup is difficult, even for the most talented team. 2 years ago, Tampa Bay was swept by Columbus in the first round of the playoffs. Okay, so winning this thing is really, really hard. So I'm not going to go into the playoffs and say, I don't think Komarov can do the job that Anders Lee did. Even though we know he can't. Of course we know he can't. It's logic. But why would a head coach want to downgrade his player that way?
Well, I don't think he's not going to downgrade his player. But what I'm saying is, as a veteran team, if a veteran team, and we are without a doubt a veteran team, I could see maybe you want to pump the tires on a younger team. These guys should know what it takes. They shouldn't need Barry Trotz to pump them up. They should not need that.
Here it is too, right? When you're a veteran player, you know exactly what you are. There's no mystery and mystique about your game. You know, hey, this is my role. This is the type of player I am. No matter what I do out there on the ice, because number one, the stats aren't proving it. The production on the ice isn't proving it. Coach could say, hey, I'm the next Sidney Crosby. I'm the next Alexander Ovechkin. Doesn't matter what he says. I can look at my play and I can look at it there as a veteran and say, nope, that's not what my role is. That's not what I do. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and tear them. But, just those type of questions. And Grump, I know you talked about it. Oh, he's saying they're interchangeable. It's all coach speak. It's all.
I understand that. I was just playing, just to let you know. I was just playing.
I know. I'm just saying, all coach speak.
Uncle Leo knows who he is, guys. Uncle Leo knows who he is. Uncle Leo is Brad Marchand who can't score.
Well, Brad Marchand obviously likes him. He's a full lollipop. That's how he gets the name Lollipop.
Yes.
TJ, do we have any comments today?
No, we do have no, we're talking about, we're going to get to comments. Don't you worry. We're going to get to comments, Grumpy Old Man. There's a few questions I have for you, right? Because that's seriously, that's a question I think Islander fans need to look at now. Because what you see a lot of times is as the playoffs begin and as they end, people will look at it and post and say, okay, now that the playoffs are over, now that we've been eliminated, now that XYZ has happened, now I'm going to try to look to rationalize what is an expectation there that we had going into the playoffs. And they'll kind of squint at it and like, oh, well, this happened, that happened. That's the reason we ended up in this particular position. I always believe you got to take, you got to be proactive when you're looking at that. And that's why I kind of wanted to get your takes on it. Again, it kind of aligns with what I'm thinking too. If you have a first round exit, I think this has been an unsuccessful season and it has been an unsuccessful trade deadline as well.
Well, I don't care what Palmieri, and his thing, I don't feel Kyle Palmieri is going to set the world on fire after how he's played with us for 16 games. Let's be honest, that's probably the worst trade deadline acquisition out of all the big ones. I don't think anyone can dispute that. So I'm not expecting him to stand out. I've already given that trade an F-, as you know. Maybe I can downgrade it to a Z
minus. Come on.
Maybe I can downgrade it to a Z after, because I'm going to throw Zajac in there as well. But as I've said before, I feel last year the stars kind of aligned for us. The style that we play is not conducive for older teams being able to play through that whole grind. And I thought that rest and then going into the playoffs is why we benefited. This year, right towards the same game range, the wheels kind of fell off again. Now we don't have that rest to get rejuvenated, and that's why I'm worried about this year's final. And I think last year was the high water mark for this current version of the team. I just feel that. I have for a while.
Saying the conference finals is a high water mark, you know what? It's not a long stretch because to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, as I said, it's a very difficult task. So that's a reality, by the way. That's a reality. People ask me about this team, and I say to myself that at some point the Islanders are going to have a dip. There's going to be a point in time. I'm picking year 3 UBS, where the age hits them and they go down for a year or two, and then depending on who they draft during that stretch and who they have coming up and who's willing to take some money to come here, which I think will be I think it'll be easy for the Islanders to get people to take money coming to the new shiny arena than it is right now. That's going to be the decision on how long we go into a rebuild and be a bad team again. I think they've got 2 more years after this year with this group, and if they add the right part or two, they can win a Stanley Cup. Personally, I think they can. But to say their high watermark is the conference finals against Tampa is a fair assessment because it's really difficult to get that far to begin with.
I won't even say that too. I mean, if you look at it like this, the Islanders have had unbelievable fortune the last 3 seasons. Ever since Barry Trotz has set foot here, look at the injuries. I mean, to prime players, year 1, no injuries to any real major player. I mean, Scott Mayfield broke his foot, I believe it was 3 years ago. Last year, we lose Adam Pellick back in time for the playoffs because of the hiatus. And this year, we lose, Anders Lee. Again, we had players missing, 10 some odd games there with Bavillier. I mean, Anders Lee, think about it. If you can look at your team and say, hey, you're only going to lose one of a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman every year, holy crap, you've had unbelievable fortune when it comes there to injuries. I mean, there are teams out there who've lost multiple players there in top roles like that. And I just think to myself, if the Islanders were to experience some unfortunate luck there with injuries, there's no way we could. I mean, like we saw this year, there's no way I think we could bounce back from that. Could you imagine if we lost Anders Lee and a guy, I'm not going to use him, but let's say we lost Anders Lee and Brock Nelson. Could you imagine what would happen to this team? Do you really? And that's the thing is like, I don't think we have the guys, and I just think just based off the probability, we will have we'll have more injuries going forward because we've been unbelievably lucky. Knock on wood.
Well, I disagree with you a little bit there. I think there's only 3 players on this team that if we lose, we can't actually work around it, and that's Barzal, Pellick, and Pulak. We've already learned it with Pellick. Those top defensive pair, which is the best in the sport defensively, and Barzal, who's our one player who is an all-world hockey player. All those other players, to some extent, in my opinion, can be replaced.
They're Jags. It's Matty and the Jags. That's the way it is. Like I said, I'm not trying to diminish Anders Lee, but he's not somebody that separates your team from good to great. He just isn't. He's just not.
I'm not saying he is, but we saw it this year, and we'd see it again if players get injured. And again, like Brock Nelson, you don't include on that list. Realistically, okay, you slide up Pajot to the second line center. Then who plays that third line center? I don't feel comfortable.
Casey, and you put Alo Koivula as your fourth line center.
Yeah, Otto Koivula is destined to sit down there and rot for the Bridgeport Islanders. I mean, what is he now, 24, 25 years old? Maybe he's about ready to finally get that chance because now he's about, hey, I'm about coming up on restricted free agency time period. But seriously, do you feel comfortable, if someone were to be like, I don't have the warm and fuzzies based off of how we were able to react losing Anders Lee this year. Again, if I think that's any indication of what we have down there in Bridgeport, it doesn't seem promising.
But we were playing the same level of hockey for the first, 10, 15 games when he left. The same winning percentage and everything. It was after that when we hit that lull in the season, just like we did last year, the same amount of games, that I'm just telling you, this style of hockey that we play is really taxing physically on the players. And the older you get, the harder it is. And here's the thing, everybody's hurt at this point of the year, right? But the older you get, the tougher it is to fight off those injuries. And that's why I'm saying, you're giving them way more credit. You say 2 more years with this group. I just don't see it. We have how many guys over the age of 30? And I'm going to say it again, players age like they don't age like a fine wine, they age like vinegar.
I get what you're saying, but some of those players are going to be gone over the next year or two, okay? And the core guys, Justin Nelson, I don't know about Bailey, will he go or not? But the guys, Barzal, Nelson, Pajot, we're going to be down that middle. I promise you that. And that defensive core with a couple of really good young defensemen that are coming this way they're going to be a strong up the middle team with strong goaltending. They will compete. I promise you. When you have that, and I think Lee is still going to be a good player for a couple of years. I think Eberle is still going to contribute for a couple of years. I think Wallstrom's only going to get a lot better, right? So I think there is enough there for this team to stay on the level they are. And if they do somehow find that piece in the top 6 to add in, I think they become extremely dangerous over these next 2 years. So I disagree with that take. And I understand when you look at the age and you get scared, but it doesn't mean Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin and Casey are going to be here. That line is going to get disassembled. It's getting disassembled, guys. And they're going to find another way to fill that line. They might re-sign Casey Cizikas, we talked about it, and I got no problem with that. But I think Clutterbuck's at the end of his rope. I think Martin and Johnson will become an interchangeable deal. And I think we're going to see a little bit of change there.
Yeah. Well, I'll put my hand up there with Clutterbuck. I mean, like the injury there, I think is going to, who knows how much, again, who knows how much longer he's going to play. He really contemplated apparently, sitting out and being
he's
done.
he's 33, 34 years old too.
34.
I mean, how long do you expect the guys to play at this level? And signing Casey Zizekas back would be it would be a disaster. We've done that year after year. Stop signing guys in their 30s to long-term freaking deals.
I'm out there. Who's replacing Casey Zizekas?
Like I said, give a young guy a shot.
Who is replacing Casey Zizekas? Because nobody that's replacing him is going to be better than him in this organization. Nobody.
That doesn't mean you need to sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal.
I'm not giving him 4. But if I can get him to take 3 for 9 like that, or 3 for 8.25, something in that range, I'm going to live with it. Because you know what? Casey's a fire plug, and he is arguably the best fourth line center in the sport. It's the other 2 guys I want to get rid of, not Casey. It's the other 2.
I'm telling you, for me, stop signing guys in their 30s to long-term deals. Just stop.
I got no problem right here. I'm telling you that I would be very happy to see my fourth line, Casey Zizekas, Michael Dal Cole, and Ross Johnston. You got a problem with that fourth line?
Well, then you got to sign Michael Dal Cole back. Is that necessary?
He'll be cheap. He'll be minimum wage.
Here's an additional question for you. Are you not worried with Casey Zizekas' riddled injury history now entering his 30s? Do you not think that's going to magnify or maybe weigh in there in the future? I mean, 3 years. If you're going to be paying him 3 years, $3 million per. I just worry about the stability as these guys get older. Again, we've been unbelievably gracious. Casey Zizekas has been unbelievably healthy the last few years. And I think to myself, okay, earlier on in his career, it wasn't the case. I'm like, have we just hit like a patch of luck? Was the earlier portion of his career just unlucky? If we sign him to a 3-year deal, realistically, how much do you expect out of him? Like, hey, we expect him to play, 80% of the games, or we expect him to be healthy. I always wonder about questions like that.
The contract and how it's done matters. Remember, I told you guys about the Matt Martin contract and how that contract actually is, and the reality of that contract where they can just eat him at any time they want, and it only costs them $300,000 when you look at it. That's how you got to structure his deal. You got to structure it like that if he does get hurt, you can get out of it.
The whole thing is, how are the young guys ever going to get a shot when you keep on signing veterans?
What young guys?
Okay, Otto Koivu.
That's a whole nother question.
What center do we have in the system that's replacing him?
Why has Otto Koivu never been given a shot? I mean,
he can't skate.
He's not 30 years old yet because he's not in his 30s.
He can't skate.
I get it. He's got a knock of he can't skate. He's got more offensive touch than Casey Zizekas. That is for damn certain.
He's got better hands.
He's a bigger body than Casey Zizekas, and he has unbelievable stick handling ability and vision there on the ice. I think he excels past Casey Zizekas in certain aspects of his game. But hey, does he serve the fourth line purpose? Maybe not as well. But here you go. How many fourth line guys do you need where you're going to say our fourth line is going to go ahead and command, $5, $6, $7 million in cap space?
Hey, look, unless Otto's playing against the grumpy old man on the ice, we got a problem because he can't skate.
I could outsmart him, though. Here's the thing. I have a steadfast rule. And yes, unless you're an absolute stud, you're hitting 30, go test somewhere else. I don't want you.
Well, then why did Grump, can I ask you a question then? Why do teams add players like Patrick Maroon? Okay, why do they add guys like that to their team as finishing pieces? Because they know those guys know how to win, and they're in their 30s, and they pay them a little bit of money, and they say, "Come join my team because you know what? We need that extra grit guy who knows how to win, who's a great guy in the locker room. Those guys are important."
Exactly.
I've got your answer because they've structured their team to where they've got the available cap space. They have the younger players and they're on somewhat of a certain contract there. So they have the ability to go out and say, hey, for a 1-year contract, let's go after a guy like Patrick Maroon. Let's go ahead and trade for a guy like that at the trade deadline because we have that available.
And you don't see Patrick Maroon getting a 4-year deal.
No, you don't.
That's my point. You're paying, it's the term. It's not even the money, it's the term. And that's what you said, well, we're going to weed some of these guys out. They're all signed to long-term deals. Everly's got 3 more years. Bailey has 3 more years.
Right.
And you got Lee has what, 5 more years on his deal.
Nelson has 4.
I mean, that's they're all going to be deep into their 30s when those contracts expire.
I hope we weed some players out. And I have been, and Grumpy will tell you this, since we started, I said, do not mar Lou's name because he hasn't needed to weed anybody out yet. And again, I guess it's more the longer I've seen it continue to transpire like this, I worry about will he actually weed the players out? And again, like, that's the biggest worry. Will he be able to do it?
I believe he will, but I also I've made this point for Islander fans who don't understand this, that Lou is not a GM back in his 60s or his 50s. Okay, he's not that age anymore. He's an older man. He wants to win now. So Lou is going to do what he feels he has to do to try and win right now over the next 2 or 3 years. He's going to sacrifice things. He's going to sacrifice some picks sometimes. He's going to sacrifice a young player if he feels that the player's going to fit in here and help them win and be successful. And it's good and bad, Grump. It's good and bad.
It's not good. Unless you win a Stanley Cup, it's not good.
But you're never guaranteed to win a Stanley Cup. I went through 25 years of this team never going for it, and so did every other fan out there. Okay, there is a value in going for it and showing that your fans that, hey, we're going to try and win. There's a value in that, and there's a value in selling your product.
Well, see, for me, no. I was willing. My opinion was when Lou came in with Barry, I said, you know what? Tear it down to the studs. I believed in Lou Lamoriello doing a full rebuild, and he would have got the buy-in from the fans just on name and rep. Instead, he sticks with the old guys.
Be fair.
Today they stick with the old guys, and we continue to re-sign them. And you're just throwing good money after bad. And what do? Right? We wind up. You mentioned, well, we don't have young guys in the farm system. Well, you don't know why? Because you keep on pissing away first-round draft picks for older players.
Be fair, Grump. What happened the first year here? Did Trotz and Lou think this team was going to have success in year one? They told you not to expect it. They told all the fans in year one, give us time. Don't expect this team to be that good yet. They said that in their press conferences.
He said, we feel this team, the talent that we have on this team can compete. I remember that coming right out of his mouth.
They all say they can compete.
Well, you know what?
Compete means I can go on the ice and I can play.
But
come on.
What changes has he made? He's been there 3 years now. What changes has he made? Pajot. That's the one that's the one positive change he's made. And he's dealt away a young defenseman, a young top 4 defenseman, because you mismanaged the cap by re-signing veterans.
The cap was already mismanaged when he got here, number one. And number two, you cannot give him the pandemic that hit. Nobody predicted that. That has affected the cap greatly. So you can't blame anybody for that. I can't blame any GM. Now, if they had more of a cushion, would it have been better? Yes, but they didn't have that cushion. Okay, and they took Matt Martin's original deal with a 2.5. I remember that's about all he added. If you remember, I know the fans bitched for a year and a half to 2 years. He had made no moves. No moves.
I was one of them.
But if they had stunk the first year, Grump, and as they anticipated they were going to, let's remember this: they anticipated they were not going to make the playoffs in year one. What would they have done at the trade deadline? Please answer my question. What would they have done at the trade deadline if they were not a good team that first year, as they anticipated?
Sell, and that's what they should.
Thank you.
They should.
He couldn't sell. He couldn't.
If they weren't a good team, you should sell. And again, like I guess I kind of see where Grump's coming from on this, but I also see where you're coming from, right? I mean, like, hey, you trust in Lou, or you trusted in Lou. I gotta sit on the fence, right? But I understand, right? We've had 20 some odd years of hideous play where it's like, we need to breathe some life into it. But now I think we're at the point where we're giving away first round draft picks. And what really scared me was the mismanagement of Devon Taves. I know we talked about that yesterday. This is a guy who, again, top pairing defenseman, anywhere in the league, he's a top 4 defenseman. I don't care where he's playing, what team he's playing for. He's a top 4 guy.
If I am the coach or the GM, TJ, okay, I would have got rid of Nick Leddy. Yeah. I will say it to everybody clearly. I said it before. I said it when we were going through the last year. Now's the time to trade Nick Leddy. Taves can take his spot. Leddy's 5.5. We'll get a second-round pick for him because a lot of teams value him because he is a good defenseman.
For certain.
That's my personal belief. That's a mistake. Okay, but be fair to Lou Lamoriello, because it was Barry Trotz who insisted on Nick Leddy staying, so that influenced the decision greatly. This isn't Jack Capuano going up into Lou Lamoriello's office. This is Barry Trotz, who's won a cup, who's been around the league for 2 decades, and has been one of the most successful coaches. So there is a difference in who walks into your office and asks you for something. Okay, as a boss, am I right? You have a seasoned employee who you trust in his decisions, and he comes to you and tells you to do something or asks you for something. He doesn't tell you, he asks you for something. You're gonna listen to that person a lot more than you're gonna listen to the guy that's had no success.
Here's my response.
Jack Capuano is now the head coach of the 2021 U.S. men's national team. So you say, hey, he doesn't have success. Jack Capuano is going to be leading those men there. I honestly couldn't believe he got that position. Good for him.
Here's my answer. Barry Trotz comes in the office and he says, I want Nick Leddy. And if I'm Lou Lamoriello, I said, you know what, you might want him, but we're flat up against the cap. We could get ourselves out of some cap issues if we get rid of him. That's what's happening. I'm the general manager. You're the freaking coach. You coach the guys that I get for your team. You don't tell me who you want. I don't care who you want. This team's going to be – I'm going to be the one who builds the team. You're going to be the one who coaches it. Okay, Barry? Get back there and coach the players that I give you. I don't care who you want, because your style punishes young players at the expense of veterans. That's what I would call him out right to his face and say that to him. Verana, look at all the young guys who could not manage to play for you and every stop that you've been at. And now you're punishing young players here. I don't care if you want Nick Leddy or Josh Bailey or Andersley or Brock Nelson. That would even give me reason just to trade him, just to piss you off. I'm going to give you a team full of young players and make it work, Barry.
Apparently, Verana couldn't play for Lavalette either.
Yeah, no, he couldn't. Honestly, he's been tearing up. I hope he has a successful career there in Detroit. Grump, you'd be fired. I kind of get what you're saying. In the same token, there has to be some give and take. Every single one of those decisions is agreed upon in some capacity. That's why I believe the trade deadline, like where people are like, oh, well, Lou went ahead and did a poor job of putting – Lou and Barry are hand in hand on every single decision. There's some sort of agreement for every decision.
If you're trading first-round picks, I don't want it for a freaking 30-year-old rental and a 36-year-old rental. I want to give it up for a guy who has term like a Raquel who could have come here and helped out. Those are the type of players that I want. I'm sick and tired of going after guys who are finished. I don't want those guys.
In fairness to Grump, I wanted Raquel. That was my number one choice. I wanted Raquel.
Could you? And I'll be shocked. Again, I'll say it, I had a bad take. I really thought that Kyle Palmieri, if integrated on the first line with Matt Barzal in some capacity, I really thought he was going to have that open space. He has got an unbelievable wrist shot. I really thought he was going to be able to put up really good numbers, but he just hasn't gelled here. Hasn't been able to produce offensively. We don't need to continue to hit too much more on those type of topics. I do have, because I know Grump, you're asking what type of comments do we have? We'll get to the comments. There was one section, and a little new segment there. We're going to have a MVP. A fan MVP of the podcast live stream. So Mark K, longtime listener, grumpy old man. And Tommy, if this makes you uncomfortable, you certainly do not have to comment on this. You could just sit there and plead the fifth. Well, there was an item on Arthur Staple. Oh goodness gracious, I got to remember what it's called. No Sleep Till Belmont. And I'll paint the picture for you. He is asking AJ Malesko, as well as Shannon Hogan, a few questions about what's the craziest, funniest Butch moment there is. Now, I'll tell you one thing. This response, we've ragged on AJ a few times about the hair. I'll tell you one thing. This response makes me want to go down and get a beer with AJ Malesko, because I'll tell you one thing. I love her. I love her after listening to this response. It gains a lot of, again, I had unbelievable respect there for her, but somebody who can joke around, make fun of themselves a little bit, I respect the hell out of that. And the only reason I'm showing this, Grump, is because I believe you're going to laugh, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to say, you know what, I never need to go ahead and make a comment like that again, because she's self-aware. So I'm just going to go ahead and play. It's a small little clip. And again, we've got to give credit there to Mark K there for pointing this out. I'm going to go ahead and start playing it though. Oh man. I'm sorry. I really thought I was going to say it the same exact point it was.
They can't. Oh, well, okay. You were.
Oh, he can make a joke.
I'm
and where
sorry.
we're
I'm sorry.
Hints
ladies and
before I
gentlemen.
let you go.
AJ, I'll let
boy.
you go on that one first.
Oh, well, okay. So you worked with them longer. I mean, there are a lot of good ones, and some of them that people are on social media have maybe seen. The two that quickly come to mind, and by the way, I'm probably going to come up with the best one in about an hour, and after we stop taping. But was when I was having a tough time with my hair. I very frequently have bad hair days, and I'm always trying to manage it. And this summer we were in 11 Penn, and we were cooped up for a long time, like you said, in a studio. We're trying to figure just a different tap dance, right? And I'm having issues with my hair and where we're standing, the mark on and everything. And Butchie leans over and he's like, "I got a really good dog groomer. Do you want me to get the name to you?" And he wasn't kidding. He wasn't kidding. And so it became sort of a long-standing joke.
Before people get all, PC, yes, we know that on a normal situation, people will be like, "Oh, well, that was sexist," blah, blah, blah.
Well, I love
we
Butchie.
know Butch. We know Butch, and he knows he can make a joke like that to AJ. And
Boom. Thank you so much, Mark K, for pointing it out. I loved that. Self-awareness is some of the greatest bit there, and I love AJ Malesko. I want to grab a beer with AJ Malesko right now, Grumpy.
I don't know what bothers me more. The fact that she's aware of it and doesn't freaking fix it. I'm like, come on, honey. Put some product in that freaking hair. It's called conditioner. You can tame it down, conditioner, or shave it off. That's another option you have.
Grump, I was hoping you would come out with a little bit of introspective.
I like AJ Malesko. I do. All I did was just comment that her hair looks squirrely. That's all. And someone in the Islanders organization, and I'm blaming them, because when she does her games on NBC Sports, her hair does not look like that. It's the people there who should say to her, "AJ, hey, here's a brush. Run a comb through it." That's all they need to do.
Look, I mean, I've met AJ a couple of times. She is top notch, everybody. AJ, she is sweet, nice, considerate to the fans. She'll sit down and talk with you. She'll sit down and have a beer with you. She's really, really cool. I think, by the way, also, she does a really great job. I really do. Yeah. I think she does a wonderful job. As far as the hair thing, I'm not bothered by her hair. There's only one person who comes on this podcast whose hair bothers me. His name's Frank Kaplan. Okay, and I don't believe it's real. I think he's got a hair weave and stuff like that. So, I want the truth about Frankie's hair. That's what I really want to know. But I think AJ Malesko is a credit to females in sports broadcasting. She is fantastic.
And you said too that she might be stop.
I mean, that comment, man, he kissed the shit out of anybody in the Islanders organization. You're never going to stop him from kissing up. I love having him on the show.
Did I not destroy the organization earlier in the show?
Oh, yeah, for about 2 seconds. It's been a love fest. Tommy's been over there pleasuring himself the whole show.
Right, yeah.
He's drinking.
The only thing that's been in my hands is this. Only thing that's been in my hands is this.
Yeah.
I really thought, Grumpy old man, you would get just a kick out. I didn't know you'd have such a hyperbolic reaction as you usually do. I guess I should have known better. I've been podcasting with you for 5 years. That being said, I thought you would be like, "Oh man," I'm like, okay, I'm not the only person. Again, like I feel like that's it's just dogging on it. But again, like I would love to get a beer with AJ Malesko after a comment like you just tell she's funny.
I would love to get her on this, and I'd have her pick on my hair. That's what I would love to do. I have no problem.
That's too easy.
Fruit.
It is easy. It is easy. So what? But you know what? I thought she was going to say that the most embarrassing thing is when Butch beat her, a 70-year-old man beat her in the face off Dot. I thought that's what she was going to say.
Oh goodness gracious!
I mean, she's got like 6 or 8 inches on him, and 30 years, 40 years, and he was able to beat her. He out-muscled her for the puck. I thought that was funny.
Okay, well,
it was a good segment. I enjoyed the segment, but
you can't go too hard. Butchie's quite old there, Grump, and
he beat her on the face-off.
Oh come on, Butch Goring was one of the best face-off guys when he played. Do you think he's going to lose that part of it?
He's 70 years old.
I don't care, but Butchie was great. He was a great hockey player. And the missing link.
I'm not talking about that. That's not saying. It's not saying. Gordie Howe was great on faceoffs too. I mean, he's not beating AJ Malesko. I mean, he's dead, but you know what I'm saying.
I feel bad for all these Islander fans today who never got to watch Butch Goring play the real number 91 on the New York Islanders, because that guy helped us win 4 Stanley Cups, and that guy that is a class act for you. Butch Goring as a player, one of the cleanest players that ever played this game. And that was one of the best. That was arguably one of the top 5 penalty killers I ever watched in this sport. How many breakaways did Butch Goring cause on penalty kills during his day?
Yeah, he was great. He was great. I just thought it was fun. And she was even laughing as he beat her. He just outmuscled her. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's laughing and Brendan's laughing. I thought it was a great segment. I thought it was really good. And she's like, she could not believe that he outmuscled her for that puck. I thought it was hilarious.
I'll be honest. I'm glad that our crew has such camaraderie and friendship. You could tell some organizations there, even like the broadcasting crew, kind of a little segmented. They kind of do their own thing. They're just kind of there. They're work buddies, they're associates. I really feel like, again, the people, like, it's family from top to bottom here with the Islanders, which is, I think, what makes them so lovable. Even for people who are like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the style. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, they are family from the top down. Broadcast crew, who's on the ice, organization wise, they're family top down. I really do honestly believe that.
Yes, true.
Yes, absolutely, Grump. We'll start jumping into comments, Grump. I know it's later there in the podcast. I know we won't be able to get through everybody's comments, and always I do apologize.
It's a crappy job by the host of the show, honestly.
Time flies when we're having fun, guys.
That it does. It does. Stephen Z saying hello, TJ and Grumpy. How are you doing there? And then Alexander, this is from earlier, saying, I hope Pasternak's okay after that vicious punch he took there from Colorado.
I think he will be okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I told you that Band-Aid with the teddy bears worked. He's fine.
And Scott Levy, hey, how are you doing there? We'll just kind of jump ahead there because I apologize. We'll look at it's been so long ago. Oh, Robin Stewart saying, isn't this an Islanders podcast when we were talking about the Rangers?
See, told you. You want to go on about the Rangers? Like, what the hell? I know the people.
Oh, goodness gracious, grumpy old man.
We should have saved that Ranger thing for the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast tomorrow night. Thanks for not plugging on my podcast tomorrow, TJ.
Your podcast.
Thanks a lot.
I'll make sure we plug
an hour 42 minutes in, not one plug for my podcast tomorrow. Good job.
Yes, again, if you enjoy myself and the grumpy old man, you like us, you kind of like, they make some okay salient points. They're relatively funny. They're entertaining. We do have a podcast there. We do right now strictly on Thursdays. It is a general sports podcast. Again, it's all no holds barred. Is it no holds? How does the saying go? It's no holds barred?
No holds barred. No holds barred.
Absolutely.
No holds barred. Yeah, go.
No holds barred.
Sunday. David Pichevsky, Sunday's the game.
Yeah, Sunday's the game. But yes, that is on Thursday there. And again, it's usually there at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or after the Islanders play, either which way.
No, it's not. Telling you right now, it's going to be Monday night, guys. The Pittsburgh Penguins on May 17th had their capacity increased to 50% on Monday. So you think that the league is going to wait one day so they can get all that extra dollars into the arena, or no?
Maybe they should have us play Saturday and Monday then.
Well, unfortunately, they have a game at 3:30 from one of the leftover COVID games on Saturday afternoon on ESPN Plus. So they kind of want to draw some rating for that, and then they put the Boston Caps game on NBC at 7:15, and I have a feeling we're getting Florida, Tampa, and Carolina, Nashville on Sunday. That's my gut, because why would they not want to get the 50% capacity in Pittsburgh and get all that ticket money? It just wouldn't make sense to me, would it? Financially?
Well, yeah, but I don't. Do you want to go 2 full days between the same division playing?
It's going to be like that early because they're not going to be able to start the North Division until next Thursday. So. I think they're gonna dribble these games a little bit for a few days just so they have, and I don't think they can focus those games that way in the very beginning and say, okay, when we get to Thursday, everybody else will have played their game one, and then boom.
Leave it to the NHL to screw up the playoffs. Honestly,
if you look at it that way,
to get the first game of the playoffs in between 8 teams, 8 series, you have to go 5 days to get the first game in. Sorry, that's a mess up on their part, if that's the case.
Oh, goodness.
Next, DJ. Next.
I've got it. Don't you worry your pretty little head, Grumpy. John P said, "Grumpy old man with the Mr. Softee reference. Kudos to you, my absolute favorite as a kid growing up on Long Island."
It was great. Mr. Softee ice cream.
Yeah,
love it.
I couldn't read the. I couldn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tommy.
Still love Mrs. Softee. He comes around. Yeah, that stuff is still great. It's still excellent. It hasn't changed, Grumpy old man. That's one thing that has not changed. Most things change. Mrs. Softee has not changed.
Mr. Softee was great.
Yeah.
Great. Yep.
Apparently, I did not read the room very well. Again, Scott was also saying, "Can we talk some Islanders, please?" Got a comment here from Jimmy G saying, "Coach." He's got
That's
the
Jimmy.
absolutely there.
He
Coach.
got the Jimmy G, though.
Oh, not the Jimmy G. David P also saying, "Time to raise the cup." I'll tell you there, it's gonna be a long and arduous road here. Got some predictions there. Brian G saying Islanders in 6, as well, agreeing there with Coach Tommy B.
Smart man.
Frank K also saying there the window is closing on this team. Age is a big factor with this team.
Smart man, that Frank. You gotta love him, baby.
Hang out. Look at that hair. I'm telling you, that's not all real. There's
Frank
a weave in there.
Frank has better hair than any of us on this podcast put together. Frank's got great hair. Let's be honest, right? Come on.
Robin Stewart also says, "I want to see the young guys prove themselves this playoff season."
I'm going to tell you what, the tail end of the season, I have been so impressed with Barzell, Wallstrom, the younger guys on this team, not the older guys, the younger guys. All the goals that we've been scoring have been generated by plays by the younger players. Have you noticed the last number of games? Created.
Yeah, I could say most of them, yes. And I think Barzell's coming back. And by the way, if you watch Barzell the last few games, honestly, since the benching, I think his focus is completely back. I don't know if you guys think that. I think Barzell's look great
Since he got rested.
Yeah,
Rested.
quote unquote.
I think he was still rested. Anyway, neither here nor there. Way further back there.
Punished. Because we punished the guys who aren't 50 years old. Punish them.
Okay.
Punish them.
Okay, I could tell you one thing. He needed a rest because he looks like he's got more pop and energy. Again, some people need the whip, some people need the carrot. Even if that was punishment, he's a guy that maybe does respond to that. Again, we'll know at the end of the day, whether the moves like that really paid off because, that's all it's going to the production of the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it's going to indicate. Hey, is what we did correct? And is how the team composed, is that going to go ahead and move us in the right direction? Here's something for us, guys. This is something I'm thinking about, not the comments wise. It's not the comments. If the Islanders get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, do you think we need to retool? I'm not saying restructure. I'm not saying rebuild as Grump always does because he promotes rebuilding any which way. It's like he's Bob the Builder. But do you think a retool on the fly would be something that Lou Lamoriello would entertain?
In my opinion, we need to retool regardless of what we do in these playoffs. We're an older team. I'm going to tell you again, my whole strategy for expansion draft this offseason is cutting salary. I don't care who we lose to the expansion draft. It's somebody's going to get exposed who makes money. I don't care if they're a better player than some of the cheaper guys. I'm going to protect the cheaper, younger players over every veteran on this team. We need financial flexibility to improve this team going forward. Without it, we're dead in the water with a flat cap for the next 2 years. That's my biggest concern is the flat cap and us not having anybody in the farm system to come through. We need to find a way to dump salary. If it's long-term injury or if it's the expansion draft, do whatever you can to free up salary cap money to improve the scoring on this team.
That was not a shockful answer there by Grumpy. Tommy, I want to hear what you got to say.
Three possibilities that could let us retool much easier. The Andrew Ladd situation getting resolved with a retirement, with an injury retirement like Johnny Boychuk, which I do think is much more possible in the coming season. Plus, based on his age, he can actually retire and collect his whole salary now with 2 years left. He decides to do that and realize that he has nothing left in the tank to offer an NHL team. Okay, he has nothing left. That's going to depend on with Boychuk. It's easy. They do that with Boychuk. By the way, we're going to give you a job in the organization. Johnny's a team guy. It all works out nice and sweet. Can they work something out like that with Andrew Ladd? That's one. Expansion draft. Who gets plucked, right? Is it Letty? Is it Bailey? Is it Ebler? Does one of those contracts get plucked? Those two things happen right there. We've got financial flexibility, right, Grump?
That's my point. That's why I don't want to give them an option to do in the expansion draft, pick a Kiefer Bellows or a Scott Mayfield. And maybe they're not better players than those guys right now. Them. But I would protect them also. That's what everything's about as far as I'm concerned.
I'll add one more. I'll add the one more is Clutterbuck. Clutterbuck's got 1 year left. He also will be hitting the age 35 under the new CBA laws. He can actually retire and collect that money. Does Clutterbuck do that? Do the Islanders have an easy buyout with Clutterbuck in the last year and say, it's time? Those are guys that they can maneuver around. And, of course, getting somebody to take a Thomas Hickey in the trade, which I think is more than possible. Those are the guys they do have financial flexibility. I'm trying to point this out to the Islander fan. We have a little more financial flexibility than you realize if some of these things come to fruition, which I believe are possible.
Here's my question too. With the financial flexibility and freedom we've got, I mean, how much realistically do you think that a guy like Sorokin's going to command? I mean, you have to assume, right? He's going to want same, if not more. If he's going to sign a long contract, he's going to want same, if not more than Varlamov because he's
not getting it.
He's not going to get $5 million per. He won't get.
He's getting Halak's contract that you saw when we signed Halak. 4 years, $16 million. That's what he's going to get. He's going to get in the vicinity of 4 to 4.25 a year on a 4-year deal.
I can live with that. He's the goalie of the future.
I've got no issue. I'm just thinking from his point of view. If he's thinking, hey, maybe want to sign a 4, let me go ahead and sign a 2 or 3 year deal because Varlamov's going to be cashed out by that time period. You don't see too many. Varlamov's 35 years old, 34 years old now.
Yeah, I mean, can we all agree that Sorokin has probably exceeded the expectations in year one? He is, despite a couple of bad games. And I noted something to people that, have you noticed the first time he ever does something is when he actually struggles? He needs to get into a comfort zone. He has to do something once, which is why I'd be worried about his first playoff game. But once he does something once, he seems to get very comfortable. And the guy's got guts. He really is a very focused young man. I think he's worth that investment easily. I think he loves playing with Volley. I think he's fine splitting the season with Volley next year and then becoming the main man. I think it's a very doable contract. And then Volley will go off into the sunset with 1 year left to get traded to a contender as a backup or maybe to a team like the Kraken who need a goaltender all of a sudden, right? And then we have that kid Jacob Scarrett come up and it all fits nice.
Just to piggyback off of Tommy's comment, Tatiana from Russia, it was Sorokin's first girlfriend. He said that, yes, he was really terrible at all the things he did his first time, but he got better.
Oh, my goodness. The comic relief there from grumpy old man.
And I waited a long time. I let Tommy was very long-winded there. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Thanks, Tommy.
I can respond to his comment, but I just don't want to say that on the air.
Oh, goodness gracious. Moving right along there. John P. there says Mike Fukuda. I'm gonna butcher some names, and I apologize if
Nick Fukuda.
Nick Fukuda.
Mike Fukuda. Holy shit.
Sorry, Grump.
Rich Pilon, Gary Howitt, Denny Potvin, Bobby Nystrom, Dwayne Sutter, Clark Gillies.
Top 7 all time in Islanders penalty minutes. Maybe that was at a point there earlier. I'm sorry there, John. I can't remember what it was. And then was that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Number 12. Mick Fukuda was number 12, by the way, TJ.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so was Dwayne Sutter.
Yes, he was. They were both 12s.
Gotcha.
They were the strongest number 12s we've ever had.
Yeah, they were good players.
Good players. Leo causes shit and plays chippy. Keeps the defense occupied. They have to distract the defense for the other two to be effective. Talking about there, Matt Barzal and Jordan Everly.
Yeah, sorry. He's a freaking ham and egger.
That's a very good. Robin's point there is dead on. That's what Leo does. Leo, and again, I'll say it again. He's Brad Marchand who can't score. I just
don't feel that he's much of a distraction in the offensive zone.
And he has a better nose too.
And I don't think he's anywhere near as chippy as he used to be when he was in Toronto.
If you're a female, would you go for Leo or Brad Marchand? It's a fair
If I was
question.
a female, if I was a female, I'd go for Brad Marchand. He makes bank. That's who I'd go for.
Hey, Uncle Leo's funny though, so hey, he does have that going for him.
And he will. I said he will lick her, so you know.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh,
Yeah, Brad Marchand. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I was about to say we need to get you some more apple juice, my friend. I tell you now, that's hey, go ahead and pour glass number 2. Ellen O'Neill said the Islanders in 5.
Wow. Really bold.
Well, here's the thing. Like the series is going to go one or two ways. We're either going to see game 1, the Islanders that we've seen over the last 2 some odd weeks, which has been underwhelming, which has been dominated there in certain aspects of their game. And, you know, they're not footing the bill, or we're going to see the Islanders playing Islanders style of hockey. You know, we're going to find out real quick whether this team was, hey, taking their foot off the gas a little bit, or whether this team is completely gassed out by the end of the season. We're going to find that out real quick.
If we get rolled in the first game, it's going to be a short series.
Honestly, I'm the game 1 is the game that I'm most uncomfortable with. You know, I think it's the game that's going to be the toughest game for the Islanders to win in the series is the game 1, because as they roll on Monday night, they have 50% capacity back in. It's the first time they actually have some real noise in the arena, and not that crap fake noise they've been tunneling into these arenas, which has been god awful. Okay, that there's going to be some inspiration for Pittsburgh there, and it's going to be a little bit of a tougher fight for the Islanders. I think game 1 is the toughest game for the Islanders winning the series, but it doesn't matter if we win game 2 or game 1. What difference does it make? What difference does it make?
Yeah,
as I quote Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make?
I just think if we get rolled in the first game, I don't think that's good news for us. If it's close and a tightly contested battle, I'll feel good. If we get rolled, I won't feel good.
Yeah, we're going to find out real soon. And Brian P. said Brad Marchand gets more points in one game than Leo gets in a season. Oh, Brian P.
Very true.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, and Robin, they're saying, hey, don't care if Leo scores. All I care about is W's. So, Ariel C. there says Varley will steal this series for sure. We contain their offense. I'm not concerned. And honestly, I believe we play the Bruins in the second round.
I think Boston wins. I think when everything's all said and done, Boston is going to win division. I really firmly believe that.
I do think that the comment that Ariel is saying, I think Varlamov is the difference maker in this series with the Islanders and the Penguins. I think it's a great statement. That's my reason for picking the Islanders in 6 games. Is I think Varley will shine more than the Penguins goaltenders. And as far as Grump's statement about the Bruins, I honestly do think the Bruins are the best team in the division. I do think that they are. But I don't trust Taylor Hall in the playoffs, guys. I understand he's played well since they've acquired him, and I would have preferred Taylor Hall over Kyle Palmieri myself. I did state that many times. I still have faith that Kyle Palmieri is going to play different in the playoffs. Personally, I think he's going to have a good playoff series against the Penguins. I think this is a series that he'll do well in. But Islanders Boston, which is what I foresee the second round as being, I have Islanders in 6 and Bruins in 6. So I foresee that matchup happening. It's a tall task for the Islanders to beat Boston in a long 7-game series. If we can do that, that's a heck of an accomplishment if we beat Boston. Don't you think?
I see Boston. I don't see us beating Boston. At the beginning of the year, I picked Boston. I felt Boston all year. And even when they were struggling, they had a bunch of guys hurt too. Everybody's healthy. And I'm just speaking to Taylor Hall. He wants to be in Boston. And that's the biggest thing. He's playing better. I'm going to tell you what, he's playing better now than in the year he won MVP. Overall, coming back, playing defense, which he's never done. He's doing that. He did that against us, saved a goal in the last game. I'd really have been impressed, not as a person, because it tells me that you weren't doing it for everybody else, but he was playing in Boston. So he's the X factor. Go ahead, TJ. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I want to bring up a point that Tommy B had brought up yesterday. I want to give him credit there for it. And we haven't mentioned it yet because I know it's a lot to talk about here. And I think it's a really astute point, Tommy. You brought up the fact that if the Islanders can make it out of the division, you think it bodes well for the Islanders against the remaining teams, because you've said it here before. The teams that have more familiarity with the Islanders are going to have a little bit more success. But these teams, if they don't have familiarity with the Islanders, are going to struggle in some capacity. And now you've had an entire season where every single team outside of the division has no familiarity with the Islanders system, the Islanders style, which might be an adjustment time period for them. And I think that was a very good point, and I wanted to let you speak a little bit further on that.
Yeah, and we got together last night, had a powwow. We talked before we do a show together, which is a good thing to do. We talk about what we think and all those things. And I brought this up last night when we were chatting, and I think that the beauty of the New York Islanders system, the Trotz Lamoriello system, is that it's even harder to play against when you haven't played against it. I think it is the most frustrating system to play against, as from an offensive standpoint. And these teams that are offense first, TJ and Grumpy, are going to who haven't played this all season. It's going to annoy the hell out of them, and it's going to cause them to do things and turn pucks over that they normally don't do. So if we ever get out of this, if we beat Pittsburgh and then beat Boston or Washington, I think the Islanders are at a distinct advantage over the teams they play after that point, because they have not played us all season and have to deal with this engulfing system, annoying system, frustrating system that most of these Islander players have all bought into. And by the way, I would love to end up playing Toronto, just not for nothing. I would love to kick the crap out of Tavares.
Once again, a lot of ifs and buts and a bag of nuts in Tommy's comments. All I know is we were 2-6 against Pittsburgh, 2-6 against Washington, and 5-3, and lost the last 3 to Boston. So, like I said, a lot of things have to go. We have to play perfect to beat those teams because they're more talented than we are.
We have to
guys. Were those games mostly 1-goal games? I mean, honestly, all those games, the ones we won or lost, were they all pretty much 1-goal games?
6-2, 2-6.
Were they all?
I don't care what the scores were. We've lost 6 out of 8.
I don't care about losing 2 shootouts to the Penguins. We're not playing any shootouts.
And Pittsburgh's better than they were when we played them last. Way better. Way better. Infinitely better. That's what concerns me. Jeff Carter comes in, 36-year-old Jeff Carter.
Wait, you like a 36-year-old? Time out here. Stop the presses, everybody.
I just wanted to bring in that he's 36 years old, and he scored 8 goals for them.
Yeah, he did.
And, I mean, what does it do? It gives depth to their lineup, too. See, that's the whole thing. That's what we don't have. We don't have scoring depth. We don't. Other teams do. Their trade line acquisitions all fit in seamlessly with their teams, and ours didn't.
In order to be successful, we've got to go back to playing Islander style. We've got to be the vampires where, again, we just look like we're bend, don't break. There's a plethora of shots coming our way. We're able to filter those really at a low opportunity chances to score. Our goalie comes up big. The opposing team makes a mistake, uncharacteristic mistake. We're able to capitalize on it. That is where the Islanders have to live. It's really tough to do that on a consistent basis and to win games like that long term. But that's how the Islanders have to do it. They've got to frustrate teams. They've got to be the vampire. They have to suck the life out of the other team.
You do realize that there's something we always leave out when we take an analysis of these playoffs and these teams, and we try to put it in a box of numbers and say that this is how it's going to happen. There are a lot of times in playoffs, especially in hockey and in sports, where guys come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden play the hero's role and have a great playoffs. And you never know who that guy is going to be. We don't. You can't predict it, Grump. You can't predict it, TJ. I can't predict it. But it happens every freaking year.
It does.
So hold on, Tommy. So now you're putting your eggs into some mystery player coming out, and
it happens every year.
Okay. It's just hard for me when you're putting the ifs, I'll do it on ifs and buts, and some mystery player coming out and performing.
Let me say it now. Kyle Palmieri.
I'm going to one-up you. I'm going to one-up you, Tommy. And this has been a player that Grumpy Old Man has been sleeping on for the last 2 seasons. His name rhymes with Simon Snolstrom. He is a guy who has been absolutely unbelievable down there for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, the now Bridgeport Islanders, Grumpy. We're looking for a guy to go ahead and make the shift and change momentum. How big of a sandwich would you be eating, like a shit sandwich, if Simon Holmstrom comes in there and tears it up? I mean, obviously not going to be Trump.
Why don't you and Tommy are on the – first of all, I mean –
I love it.
Now you want to say – how about Philip Tomasino? He could have given us something. Kaliev could have given us something. McMichael, not Casper. He ain't give us nothing except a huge minus whatever.
When Simon Holmstrom is called up, TJ, and scores his first NHL goal, I'm going to make sure that he sends that puck to the grumpy old man. Autographed.
I hope I'm still alive at that time.
I don't know.
It was that 7 or 8 years from now.
I don't know how much it's going to cost. We're going to have to do anything we can to win that type of auction if he's going to auction that puck off, and we can go ahead and mount it right behind Grumpy Old Man. Maybe a signature stand. Grumpy, you're my number one motivator. Something like that.
I said, he plays hockey like a kid who's just learning how to skate, just hangs onto the boards.
Ariel C also says Grump Bailey will have the most assists in this series, and as well, I am a Bailey hater with you, but I have faith. Ariel says there, Grump.
You know what? I hope he does, because that means that somebody else is scoring. That's all I have to say. I hope he does. I don't have the faith you do, but I hope he does.
Christopher C there says, "Hey coach, how's it going? Love the background." I was about to say, I've got to step my background game up. That Coach Tommy B's got the good man cave going on right there. I gotta tell you, it's well thought out, it's well planned, and I think it's well executed.
His mom let him dress up the room the way he wanted it.
Stop.
I wish he was still here to tell me that, but Chris, I'm doing well. I'm glad you enjoy the man cave from Coach Baffi's corner. We love doing that. So I love all my Islander stuff. I have so much Islander stuff. So you got to be a fan, right? We get into it, put your stuff up, and now it's playoff season. You guys should all be getting your flags out. Putting your flags on your cars, getting your towels out. Look, TJ's got it behind him. He's got look at the backgrounds here. We got TJ with the Islander shirt on the Islander, and we got Grumpy with the Al Bundy couch. That's the backgrounds you're all checking out here today.
Grumpy Old Man. If you would ever get some Islanders apparel behind you, I would be shocked, and I would.
I have some Islander. I have something. I did get something like TJ has, but I just haven't found the appropriate place to put it yet. I'd hate to get rid of the couch. It's kind of iconic now. So I don't know what to do. I'm confused.
Maybe I should send you a Dry for 5 towel to put behind it.
Yeah, that's good. I could wear it, tuck it, because I get sloppy. I could do that. The warden has told me that I do need to put that thing up. She's like, you better put that thing up. And that's the way she says it too, You better put that thing up.
That's a Grump.
That's how she says it, all mean and nasty like that. I'm just so nice all the time, and she's just mean.
That's that is a very endearing depiction there of your wife.
Put that thing up. Hang it up now.
Anyway, Grumpy, moving right along there. Ariel C also said, I think Pajot, Bavillier, and Wallstrom and Varley are going to be the difference maker this series. Love the podcast. Keep it up, guys. Thank you, Ariel. Yeah,
I hope so. I'm all for it. And I like how she's going with all the names, Varley, Wally. She's like my kids, We had a hermit crab. His name was Hermie. We had a snake. His name was Snaky. A little bit more imagination there with the names, people. Not her. That's what the Islanders call him. Butch calls him that. Varley, Wally, Clutter.
We've got a comment I'm scrolling through. I'm going to show it. We're not going to be able to touch too much on it. In our powwow we talked about last night, I want to say we touched on this topic for about a good solid 30 minutes. David P. there says, bring up Hosang there from the top. We've got it. That is a different podcast. We'll talk a little bit about
that's off season. That's off season.
We talked about it there for a while. I thought it was a good conversation yesterday. But moving right along, we're not ignoring it. Scott L also says, yes, TJ, injuries happen, but the Islanders player development sucks. When other teams have injuries, they don't seem to miss a beat.
Well, I think what TJ was trying to say there is we've been really incredibly lucky as to not get the injuries that other teams have had. And that could just be maybe, the training techniques that they use.
I was about to say that.
I mean,
maybe that the Islanders have a better system for dealing with injuries.
Right.
Let's give the Islanders some credit for something for a change.
That's
maybe their training staff is better than a lot of the other training staffs in this league, and these players are able to deal with injuries better, stay healthy more. And by the way, honestly, when they have guys that they kind of feel are interchangeable, to give a guy a day off, to give Matt Barzell a day's rest in Buffalo.
Oh, all right. Let's not
He's
go.
so good at it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm not taking the cheese on that, but I will say I will agree that particularly because we're an older team. I think the players, when you get older, you kind of know how to manage your body a little bit better as opposed to younger guys. And I do feel that our training staff does a really nice job. And it's always the same. You look at every year, it seems like the same teams seem to have a whole lot of injuries, and I think that is because of training staffs. And that's kudos to the Islanders and their training staff. I firmly believe that.
Maybe the training staff should handle the playoff tickets. It's just a feeling of mine.
There you go. They seem like they know what to do.
I can handle the playoff tickets, no problem.
I feel like there'd be a mismanagement of playoff tickets, Grump, if that was the case. I'm just going out on a limb.
Anybody who wanted to pay the price for the $1 million man, you want a ticket, you pay for it. That's all right.
Brian P. there says Tampa and Pitt lose superstars year after year, and they still win.
Well, they have an awful lot of talent on both of those teams, so that's why they're able to get away with it. And let's be honest, Cooper's a good coach, and Mike Sullivan is a really good coach. I don't think he gets the credit for being as good a coach as he is.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. I mean, like, you're also looking at those two teams.
What are you grilling bacon back there? What the heck is that noise?
Stop, Grumpy. It's not Grumpy. Anyway, we're going bacon. I go for some bacon right now. I could go for some dinner.
How about going for another comment instead?
Oh,
yeah, eat up one of those.
Holy shit. Okay, I'm moving right along, guys. I can read it. David B said, "Hey, Grumpy, how old are you?" And he says, "Sign Grumpy to a 2-way contract soon."
Honestly, at my age, it would have to be a 2-way deal, but I bet I could produce just as good as Andrew Ladd did this year.
Oh,
that's true. He could produce as much as Andrew Ladd. That's very true. But he's probably old enough to be Andrew Ladd's father too.
I'm absolutely old enough to be Andrew Ladd's father.
There you go.
Pessimistic say Tanner Fritz can replace Casey.
I know he's joking there. I know he is.
Kim there commented and says Casey is fired. Big Casey Zizekas fan. Also saying damn right in there, Casey.
I love Kim. I love her a lot. I'm going to tell you what, she loves Casey Zizekas. If he was only playing on one leg, she would still say that he should be playing.
Kim, I'm with you. Casey should be brought back. Don't worry about it. Number 53 is going to be wearing an Island uniform. You don't have to change your jersey. Don't worry about it.
It just, you know what? It just makes my summer. It's so easy to do those shows when we keep on doing stupid things.
Oh, goodness gracious. She also says Casey's insane there on the penalty kill.
I thought she called him a piker for a second. I guess not.
Jesus, Grumpy. That's how you know you're getting old. Thomas B there says there's no cap room for the next 2 years. They won't have the cap room to get another top line forward in the next 2 years. Again, like if the stars and the moon align, if we're able to get, like as Coach Tommy B talked about, if we're able to go ahead and free up there with 2 guys leaving on long-term injury, and we're able to expose somebody who makes a lot of cap, or makes a lot of salary, we're able to go ahead and have a little bit more flexibility.
And I agree. Is Lou willing to do that? See, that's the big thing. Is he willing to do it? There are ways to do it. Is he willing to do it? And that's my issue. And I feel that, and we'll talk about the offseason. I keep on saying that, but
you keep saying it. Don't.
But they need to come to an understanding. He and Barry need to come to an understanding. Hey, even if we take a little step back for, maybe a 3 or 4 year window as opposed to a 1 or 2. I mean, just things like that. But is he willing to do it? That's the biggest question.
Okay, Grump, this is going to have to do with what we do now in the playoffs. If Pittsburgh knocks us off in 5-6 games and we're out in the first round,
don't make me root for a loss. Don't make me.
But I'm telling you that if that happens, that's going to lean him towards doing that. He's more likely to do that based on that result. If we beat Pittsburgh and then we beat Boston, he's not going to do that. You know that. We had success. We're not doing that. Am I wrong?
Don't make me root.
You're not. To answer your question, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all, Tommy.
All right, I'm picking Pittsburgh in 3. Have the change come.
Moving right along there. Scott L also saying agree Grumpy was signing 30-year-old plus players to long-term deals. Paul W says time to sign Parise for a 6-year deal. Hey, You go, Grump. I think that fits right up in your avenue. I think you'd be excited about that type of free agent acquisition.
Doesn't he have another 6 years still left on his deal?
Oh,
I think it's close to that, Grump. I think
it is. I think it's 5. I think it's 5.
But
4 or 5. 4 or 5.
What are we going to do with him, Paul? What are we going to do with Parisi? Are we gonna like have him serve hot dogs and maybe at Madison Square Garden? They fired everybody. What are we doing with him?
Oh yeah,
advanced scout.
Anyway, moving right along there. Daniel D also said give Casey a 1-year deal.
I wouldn't be opposed to giving him a 1-year deal if it was on the cheap.
I don't think he's right.
I don't want term.
The minimum.
He's not taking a 1-year deal. I would do that in a heartbeat if you take it.
Then bye-bye. See you later.
Too much pessimistic. Unless one unless one of the generational talents don't resign a player that takes him into his 30s.
2 minutes pessimistic is very, very smart.
No, he was. I'm going to tell you something about him. He was not only did he have to go through the 25 years of pain. He was probably stuffed in a locker a few times in high school too. So I'm telling you right now, he's got a complex.
Oh,
You're throwing him pessimistic?
Yes.
He's throwing one of our listeners. I can't believe it.
He is this guy with it's like only like a drop left in the glass. That's who he is.
See, I find him very positive most of the time.
He's funny. He's actually a good dude.
He is good. He is good.
Moving right along there. Brian P. also saying there, Lou loves lots of guys who just can't skate.
Yeah, I don't think we're a great. We have good skaters on the team, but overall, I don't think we're a great skating team.
We're an average skating team. I think we're not a bad skating team. We're an average skating team, but we're an average skating team that commits to a true system. And I can't stress more how hard it is to get these players today to commit to a team-oriented system. Everybody's a freaking prima donna today, okay? And a lot of for the Islanders to buy into that, you got to give Lou and Barry credit for getting these players to play like a goddamn team, because that's not easy to do in today's sports world.
It's true. What they did was they went to the Syosset rink and they had a beer league. Like, hey, anybody in the beer league want to play for the Islanders? Sure. All you got to do is do what Lou says. No problem. I mean, we're just playing for beers anyway.
Should I break my skates out and try out then?
Break them out. Why not?
Yeah, we are in need of a first line left winger there, Coach Tommy B. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I played.
There you go. And Brian John also saying there, it's not going. I don't know. I think he meant to say it's not going well there. Getting Palmieri. Let's be real.
Yeah, Palmieri was a crappy deal. That's right, Brian.
I guess I hold a little bit of hope. Maybe in the playoffs, something might switch. But again, as of right now, I'm leaning more towards, hey, if I go into Vegas, I'm saying the tree was an F rather than a B.
Both of you guys.
If he has a big playoffs, what does the grade change to, gentlemen?
Okay, here's the thing. When reality kicks in, another if.
You don't know that he's not going to have a good playoff. You don't know that. I don't know that. You don't know that. If he has a crappy playoff, give him his F. If he has a good playoff, what's his grade?
I'm going on his performance so far. He's had a big enough sample size to say. Like I said, both of you guys, the Pollyannas of this world, it's like you are in Vegas. We just keep on throwing money in those slots, hoping it's going to kick,
Well, here's my thing. I
don't play slots. I play blackjack.
Well, you know what? I'm going to see you drawing a lot of – what's his number? Oh, okay. He's 30 years old. So you can see a lot of 30s getting pulled up.
Well, I wish I was 30.
I was going to go. His number is 21, so I was going to say, get his number, but that's not happening.
No, I will tell you this: if you're going to Vegas and you're putting down money, you have to say, "Hey, Kyle Palmieri will perform in the playoffs, or Kyle Palmieri will not perform in the playoffs." I'm probably throwing money more towards Kyle Palmieri will not perform in the playoffs.
Yeah, but your odds are going to be crappy for that. I mean, you probably get like 1,000 to 1 that he's going to perform well in the playoffs.
I love the underdog picks, man. I love picking those numbers. You can win a lot more money putting it down that way. I don't want that pick where I got to bet $100 to win $10. Who the hell wants to bet that?
Nobody. Here you go. Robin also has a statement. How can you expect the Islanders to move Leo when this podcast has, and she calls you he/she, I'm not sure if Robin Stewart's a guy or a gal. We never can tell with the picture, has Frumpy on the first line. She keeps calling you Frumpy instead of Grumpy. How
I
can
do, I do look kind of frumpy. Look at my outfit. I do look a little frumpy today. Nothing wrong with that. I don't care.
Grumpy?
We didn't put him on the first line.
No, he's talking about Grumpy. But we've got Grumpy here on the first line of the podcast.
He's saying like he's comparing me on this podcast to Leo being on the first line.
That's pretty accurate. Let me add this right now. And I think you and Uncle Leo are pretty much in the same age bracket.
I could be his father too.
Nick D with another YouTube comment says, TJ, Grump, and Coach, how are you doing? This is a great show. This should be a regular thing every Wednesday. TJ and Grumpy and the head coach. Coach's Corner or Conspiracy Corner with Coach Tommy Baffi. I knew I'd screwed up at least one time, and I kept screwing it up last night when we were talking about it, but
let's give credit where credit is due. That was Grumpy Old Man's idea. Great idea. I thought it was very intuitive. It was very good. Very intuitive.
Anything on this podcast that is good is my idea. Honestly, TJ runs it. He absolutely runs it. But anything that's creative comes from me. I don't care for the credit though. I want TJ to look good. That's all I care about. He's
technically sound though. Let's give TJ credit. He's technically sound.
He is. Mostly, sometimes.
You can work for WFAN radio here in New York and handle the production. You're technically sound.
I appreciate it, but yikes! I'll need definitely a lot more work on that. Brian P also says there, I fought with everyone that we overachieved in 1 year, and I said it's going to hurt in the long run. We'll look back on it. That's certainly a possibility, but we won't know until a few years down the road. But that certainly is a possibility.
Let's give credit to Barry Trotz here, right? The team with the same cast of characters, absolutely the same, turned around in 1 year, and that's a credit to Barry Trotz, without a doubt.
And then went to the conference finals the next year, where what was the only addition to that team? Derek Brassard?
Well, Pagano.
We traded for Pagano, you're right. We added Pagano in a big trade.
And Green. But to me, last year doesn't happen without the COVID shutdown. See, that's my thing. I just think that we were spent at that point in time. That re-energized us. And the fact that as an older team, a veteran team, having to have everybody locked down and having guys who are veterans really helped us last year. And the fact that we are so close helped us last year. Going forward, it's not going to help. But
all legitimate points, but you're missing a very big point in there. And the biggest point of that was the return of Adam Pelech.
Yeah.
And his meaning to this team, which I think is understated.
Yeah. He's never going to be a flashy defenseman, but serves an integral part there and role on this team.
He's Ken Morrow on the left-hand side.
But that's not why we lost 7 games in a row going into the break. It wasn't good.
Look, where were the Islanders before Adam Pelech got hurt? I asked that question. Where were they before Pelech's injury? We were literally battling in the top of the league.
They were in Uniondale and Brooklyn. That's where they were.
Oh, yes. I get what you're saying where they were, from a geographical sense. But the Islanders, in a standing sense, before Pelech went down, were right there in the top of the league.
Yeah,
it says something about what he means to this team.
Yeah, I'm not diminishing what he brings to the team. I'm just saying that's the style that we play is hard to play over great lengths of time. It just is.
Oh, it's physically taxing.
Right, and that's what I felt. That's what I felt, and I felt it this year too down the stretch. It's just physically taxing, and it's just hard to play like that. And we have to be perfect to win, and that's why I don't feel as winning a Stanley Cup. It's tough to play another 2 months or 2.5 months of perfect hockey. It's just very difficult.
And Nick D also said, "Here's an idea for a trade. Just inquiring here: Bellows and Letty for Quinn Hughes. What do you think?"
Why would Vancouver ever do that?
You answered, Michael. You said it perfectly.
Quinn Hughes, I don't think Vancouver would ever bite.
I'd do it in a second.
Quinn Hughes' offensive production, again, Quinn Hughes is also a relatively small defenseman. His production's been unbelievable too.
Sorry, but Jeff Gorton is not the GM there, so it's not going to happen.
Or Peter Ciccarelli.
Yes. Oh, I loved him. I loved him.
It's sad when he left. A sad day there for Islander fans there. Dino said, love you guys there. It's Mike M.
Dino Mike.
Dino Mike. Andrea there saying, Tommy's having a good hair day.
Thank you, sweetheart. That by the way, that's my sweetheart, guys. So thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that.
All I know is she's happy she's sitting on the other side of the arena.
Yeah, I might not get any tickets, so it may not matter.
Brian J said, a lot of Islander fans are bald or balding. I think, yeah.
You can say that about any team, though, honestly.
You can say that about any team is right. Frank K said, hair serum is the trick to his hair and long locks there. Frank K.
Gotta love Frank.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to tell you guys this for a minute about Frank, because Frank was at the tailgate that we had on Saturday to say goodbye to the collie. And I want to tell you that his hair does not look like it does in that picture.
Oh, shit.
It does not. It was all frizzy and it was split ends and all that. I was
Are you sure it wasn't AJ at your tailgate?
Okay, all I'm going to say is Tommy B has now thrown shade at 2 minutes of pessimisticking and Frank K. He's thrown shade left and right to the listeners of the pod. I was like, oh, okay.
Frank is my buddy. He knows I love him.
I'm going to tell you what. I've seen some names on here I haven't seen before. I am assuming that they're aligned with Tommy Baffi, and I have used tremendous restraint not to attack them. Tremendous
restraint and respect. Good, Grumpy. We're be on the best behavior. Ariel C. They're also saying Verona couldn't play with either coach because he was buried there on the 4th line playing 10 minutes of ice time. Now he's getting minutes and he's a stud.
That's right, Ariel. Tell the glad-handers, TJ and Tommy Baffi. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Whoa. I love Verona. He's a guy who I actually would love to have on the New York Islanders. I think Verona, I think he's a top 6 forward, and I think he killed us, by the way. That guy killed us when he played against us. Did he not?
Oh, yeah.
I would take that guy in a heartbeat.
All right. Tommy has TJ memory right now. Earlier in this podcast, when I said that all these guys made great, he's like, well, Verona couldn't play for Laviolette either. See, that's is that what you call a compliment?
He couldn't. He couldn't because my point was not Verona. My point was that Laviolette used him terribly.
Yeah,
that was my point.
Now he's doing a freaking back. That's not way.
And I like Laviolette. He's the only guy when we're playing the Capitals and we're hanging out, over by the Marriott in the opening over there, and we see the players walking by. Laviolette's the only one I wave to and say hello to. He's a nice guy. He always was, and I appreciate him when he was an Islanders coach. That
was one of the better moves by Milbury.
Yes,
that he made.
100%. Yeah.
Of course, I think he was a Providence coach before he got popped on our team. And just as he started doing something, we cut him. As soon as he starts winning, get rid of him. Maybe it's just like the Rangers.
Maybe we'll hire Quinn for you.
Maybe.
Ellen there says, I love AJ. And also Scott from Jersey side there says, Tommy Howie, Mendel, Baffi.
I remember Harry Mendel when he had hair like Frank's and AJ's.
Oh, goodness.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. He came all the way from Jersey, by the way, to make the tailgate on Saturday. He's a great dude.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Nikki also says, does Coach Baffi have a podcast? Yes, he does.
Yes, Nick.
It's Coach's Corner, correct there?
Yes, I have Coach Baffi's Corner. Actually, I'll be doing a show tomorrow night, 8:30 to 9:30, and we'll be going over the Islanders Capitals series, the Islanders Penguin series, and the Capitals Bruins series tomorrow night. Just so you know, if you want to listen in.
Gotcha.
The Drive for 5. Check it out on the Drive for 5 on my personal page. That's where I normally put it.
Absolutely. Frank Hay saying, I am Balsley's #1 client. I don't buy that, Frank. Not buying it when I see hair like that. Michael M. also saying, Wallstrom and Barzal with the goals. Time to move out some of these Jags, throwing in a grumpy old man reference, and build around those two.
Mike is very, very smart. We've had this discussion before. He outkicked his coverage with his wife, so he's my hero.
Is that why he's removed the picture of his wife, grumpy old man, there for the
Absolutely.
Those were 2 really nice goals. Those 2 guys scored in Boston, by the way, on Monday night. Those were goal scorers' goals.
That's what guys who have talent do. It's nice to have a couple of guys with talent on the team.
Yeah, it is.
Just saying. I want to try it sometime. I want to draft some of them.
Too much pessimistic in there, taking a shot at the grumpy old man, saying Grumpy being all this millennial and stuff by saying, listen to my podcast. Great job, fellas. Grumpy old man, he's throwing shots, Grumpy. Shots being thrown.
Well, here's the thing, TJ. You are, as the host, are supposed to mention the podcast. The fact that I have to bring it up is an embarrassment to you.
I'm sorry. I forgot, Grumpy old man. Please, will you forgive me, Grump? Will you forgive me, Grumpy? Please.
Yeah, whatever. Keep going.
Grump, should we tell him every 15 minutes you just got to mention the podcast?
Well, you should mention it more than just wait until hour 40 into the show. That's for certain. And we haven't mentioned it again, and here it is another 50 minutes later, and someone else had to bring it up. Good job, TJ.
Oh, goodness gracious. I do apologize, Grumpy old man.
You can listen to TJ say how the Cleveland Browns should blow up their team after their first winning season in 15 years. They should blow it up if they don't win a Super Bowl.
You missed.
That's the type of ridiculousness you can hear from TJ. He's much more animated on our TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast.
Mark S. there says, guessing Varlamov will play all the games, or will he be switching to play Sorokin a bit too?
Maybe if there's a back-to-back, you might see it, but other than that, it's going to be Varlamov all the way.
Or, if Sorokin gets into a lot of action, that means Varlamov is playing like garbage.
Okay, if that happens, we're getting swept. So we won't need to worry about that. If Sorokin is playing a bunch of the games because Varlamov's not performing, that series is going to be short.
Or if he has a groin pull because he's dealing with a little bit of a tweaked groin right now.
Don't say that, Tommy. Don't you say that.
Our coach said he was fine.
I don't want to even think about that because that will worry me and some fans as well. Even though they say, hey, and I do not like hearing, oh, he's a tweak. It's just preventative. I never like hearing that with groins. Hey, if it's some other injury but groins, I'm just like, for goalie, it's not something I like to hear.
It wouldn't bother me at all if something happened to Varlamov and Sorokin had to play. I think Sorokin's up to the task. I really do. Oh,
that's big words. I mean, that guy, he's still got limited time in this league.
I don't care.
It's a lot to throw. Look, maybe it's a Ken Dryden type situation, right? We mentioned that last night. That could be your Ken Dryden because he's got the ability to do it. But that is a tall task to ask a player with minimal experience.
I'm a positive guy, not negative like you two.
Yeah.
I believe my young goalie can do the job.
Speaking about positivity, Paul W says, Grumpy, get ready to hoist the cup.
I'd love to do it. It'd be great.
Oh, goodness gracious. And Scott Levy also says Carter was the steal of the trade deadline.
Did they give a first-round pick for him?
I don't remember.
No, the answer's no.
No, I think it was a second.
I don't even think they got a second for Carter for a 36-year-old on an expiring deal.
It might have been. It might have been two picks too. It might have been like a third and a fourth. I forgot.
They got a third in 2022 and then a fourth in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Great deal.
Yeah.
Again, it's a great regular season deal. What if he doesn't produce in the playoffs?
But he has done it in the past. He's done.
Yeah. I mean, Carter's been a winner. I don't. Fair enough. He's been a winner.
There you go. You're talking about Palmieri supposedly lighting up. He ain't never done shit. And then there's a guy who's done it all the time. You're saying he's not going to do anything.
He's 36. You love your 36-year-olds.
Take off the orange and blue glasses, please.
This is the only 36-year-old on the planet that Grumpy likes is Jeff Carter.
I didn't say I like him. I just said he's performing well is all I said.
And then Brandon Gaines, end of the long-time listener to the podcast, said, I'd protect Varlamov because I'm not gambling on Sorokin suddenly becoming, coming great in the penalty kill next year.
There's no reason for them not to protect Varlamov.
Yeah, they should.
They can protect only one goalie and the only guy available to protect is him or Snyder. I mean, they're not protecting Snyder. So
we signed that kid Appleby so that they could expose him.
All they get is one guy to protect.
He'll be protected, and Sorokin doesn't have to be protected.
Right.
And that kid that they signed Appleby, they did it for the expansion draft, because you have to have a goalie on your expansion list. You know that rule, right? You have to have one available to be drafted.
Who are goalies in the minors? Who are goalies in the minors?
They signed that kid. They just called him up. He's one of the 8 guys they called up. Stuart Appleby or something like that. I forgot how you pronounce his last name. He's going to be the exposed goaltender in the expansion draft. They signed him for that purpose alone. We have Jacob Skyrick, the kid who's down there, who I like a lot. Okay, and that's the other guy who they just brought up from Bridgeport.
I just don't think there's any risk of. I don't think there's any risk of any of our goalies getting picked. Honestly.
And by the way, that's Bridgeport with the giant B and the backwards hockey stick.
Think about that for Applegate, right? I mean, he was a guy. I don't remember how long he was sitting out of the league for, but he just gets picked up there as the purpose of, hey, we need a guy to fill the spot that that's just going to collect a paycheck here, going to practice a little bit. We have no real intentions on using you at all. We just need a guy who could be exposed there in the expansion draft. They'd be like, thank you, I will take my check.
Got that.
I would have loved if they did it with like Rick DiPietro and did that with him and brought him back for this just to expose him. That would have been a lot of fun.
That would bring some laughs and some memes around. That is for certain. Sal P said, we absolutely need to retool no matter what happens. Just like Rum said, we need to get younger. I want to see Bellows get big minutes. The kid can score, and let's see what Bolduc or Wild can do. It's a younger league.
Once again, Sal's spot on. I don't think that
Robin Salo too. Everybody forgets about Robin Salo. Everybody forgets about Robin Salo. I mean, like defensively, we are absolutely loaded. I just want to see that we can manage the defensive capital we have and turn that into young forwards.
I don't think Wild is ready, but
He's not.
If we move one of our veteran D who gets plucked, or maybe move Letty, maybe give Bolduc a shot. Here's the thing: it's totally abhorrent for them to play the younger guys. But I would love to see that. I really would.
I'm going to make a bold statement to you guys right now. Samuel Bolduc is on the New York Islanders next season.
I think that's if you lose a guy there in the expansion draft there to defenseman, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. He played unbelievably well there in Bridgeport, and you could tell the guys that the organization's high on. The organization is high on Bolduc. There's no doubt about it. So it wouldn't shock me at all. I think Salo at least needs 1 year to kind of get acclimated to the smaller ice too.
Agreed. Bolduc to me is my scouting on Bolduc is he is Adam Pelech with offense. That's my scouting report on him, guys.
If that's the case, I'd like to see him and know it. They won't do it though. A pairing of he and Dobson next year. There's no way he puts two guys under 21 years old on the same. It's just not going to happen.
He would implode. He'd die from the inside.
He would.
He'll be third line and 6th and 7th defenseman stuff if he makes the team this year. But you know the rule about how many games these guys got to play to get acclimated as a defenseman. You know it.
Yep, 300. They figure 300 before you're fully baked.
This is a Kenny Janssen, not the Kenny Janssen, but he says, "What's up, Tommy?" Moving right along here.
Kenny, you were worth giving a first-round pick for, Kenny Janssen. Just want you to know that. He hates giving up first round.
He was real nice to my kids when we met him, Kenny Janssen.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Super nice guy.
Good guy.
LNO also says Sorokin rocks when he's on his game. That is for certain.
The kid's a real deal, without a doubt.
Yeah, so I do love to see that out of the Grump. I've seen a little bit more of a positive attitude out of you tonight. I think that's awesome, and your takes on Sorokin, by the way, I think are excellent.
Yeah, I'm just positive on the young guys. I'm just not positive on the older guys because they're not getting any better. What they are.
I want these people all to know something, that when he gets off his couch, he goes into his bedroom, he puts on his Uncle Leo jersey. You guys don't know that he does that.
Well, that.
It says Palan on the back, but yeah.
Hey, speaking of Palan, we know we mentioned last time Garrett Palan there. Getting some time. So again, like I did not know that the Washington Capitals lineup was that banged up too. But I was talking to their hockey shoulder. He was telling me that there, Jeremy, grumpy old man.
I know. He texted me. He wanted to learn about some hockey stuff, some knowledge, so I had to give it to him.
Oh, goodness gracious. We'll get to a few more comments here, guys, and we're going to wrap things up. I know we're about at 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you so much, Coach Tommy B, there for being on. Brian P., we weren't accepting calls. We were just trying to get there to a few comments, so don't feel neglected. Wednesday's not call day, but we'll get in on Saturday for certain. The Wicked 50 Cal said, I wish I shared Ellen's optimism. I am not optimistic. At least he's forthright exactly about what type of demeanor he has going towards it. I think at best we win 2 games, and even then we'll be lucky. Pittsburgh this year just has had our number.
That's the truth.
Guys, never. I'm going to tell you all this right now. And I've watched this game a long, long time. You do not judge regular season games against each other in a playoff format. It's completely different. I'm just telling you all that right now. If your belief that we can't beat Pittsburgh because we didn't do as well as you would like during the regular season, it has nothing to do with the playoff outcome. Nothing.
Well, since we played 8 games against them during the year, I think that's a pretty good sample size. And they've just gotten better. They've just gotten better since we played them, and we've gotten worse. I don't see that as a positive thing. Maybe you do, because there's a lot of ifs in there. So perhaps, that
There's
works.
a lot of ifs in anything in this sport. There's always ifs. That's why, as I said, that's why in the NHL playoffs, there are more upsets and more underdogs winning playoff series in the NHL by far than any other sport. Okay, and it's always been that way because there are a lot of ifs.
Takes one hot goalie to steal a series. One hot goalie.
Sometimes one hot scorer. Sometimes Ray Ferraro scores 8 goals in a freaking series against the Capitals. Do you think that he was going to do that? Do you think all of a sudden this guy's going to explode? You just don't know who's going to do that.
Just don't mention Kyle Palmieri and Ray Ferraro in the same sentence, please.
Oh, goodness gracious. Michelle says, hey, guys. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Yeah, I'll tell you, it is going to be quite a matchup, quite a series. Hopefully we're, looking back on this towards the offseason thinking, hey, we were successful in the playoffs. We made at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think if we don't, there will be a lot of questions asked. If we get bounced in the first round, there will be a lot of questions asked, and, rightfully so. You look at that trade, no matter what Palmieri does as a loss, if you only, if you get booted in the first round of the playoffs. But guys, is there anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap things up? We are right now at 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I'm sorry.
I just want to ask Tommy about his hat. I know the hat has a special meaning for him, and I did want to ask about that.
Okay. Many of the Drive for Five do know a lot about what this means, but I'll share it with your audience. And for most of you who know me know that I'm very big into doing cancer events and doing things to fight cancer and trying to help out families in need. We do that through the Drive for Five on a couple of occasions a year, and we try to raise money in other ways for that. This hat is very special to me. This hat says "Courage for Carson" on it. Carson Volpe is my nephew, and Carson has now in a second battle with a disease called neuroblastoma, which is really a horrific disease. He had it when he was just before he was 2. He got diagnosed with it in stage 4, and somehow beat it with a miracle. And unfortunately, after 8 years, he relapsed, which ironically for this kid, it's like a 5% chance to relapse into disease after 8 years. He's an amazing kid. He's my inspiration in life. He really is. He's fantastic. Through all this, the kid always smiles. He's still actually amazingly going through cancer treatments and still playing sports as a 12-year-old kid. The kid has a fire like you can't believe. I'll do anything for him. And this hat stays on my head until he is cured.
Well, Tommy, I just want to say we are thinking about him.
Thank you.
And anything the grumpy old man can do, I know he's probably a big fan of the grumpy old man.
Of course.
Who isn't? But tell me, he has no shot to play for the Islanders until he reaches the age of 32. So he's got a long time to practice.
We have to see if we can get him on your couch, though. That would be like the ultimate moment for him.
I'll tell you what.
Off his couch.
Hey, let me tell you something. It's legendary at this point in time.
Oh, goodness. We'll get to a few last ones here, guys. Thank you there for sharing that for certain there, Tommy. Obviously, thoughts and prayers there. And David, they're saying, hey, guys, also got a few more comments. Storm Chaser 234 says, if we lose anyone this offseason, but they happen to be under 30, who would it be and why? Real quick, guys. Not too long on this one, Grump.
If they protect Letty, it'll be Mayfield. If they protect Letty, I mean, you'd have to be stupid if you were the Kraken not to pick a defenseman like that. Really one of the better defensive teams in the league. I think it would be idiotic.
I'm a cap guy myself, and when I look at those contracts, as disappointed as I've been in Mayfield, I agree that's something I'm worried about if they protect Letty over Mayfield. To me, the value of the $5.5 million will go a long way towards other things the Islanders need to accomplish. And when we have Samuel Bolduc and Robin Salo on the precipice of being New York Islanders and probably being effective young defensemen, I'm keeping Scott Mayfield and the cheapy $1.4 million cap hit and let it go. If Lou does that, it's a big mistake in my opinion, and I will call him out for it.
Yeah, maybe it would be kind of a weak call out.
No, I'll call him out for it.
Yeah,
I'll call him
let
out
me
for
tell you
it.
something. You want to hear somebody really get called out? Tune into this podcast.
Stop. Anyway, Grumpy.
We're not the bootlicking podcast.
Stop.
DJ
Anyway.
would fit right in for the draw with the drive for 5. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, goodness. Okay, Grumpy. Moving right along there. We got the last few. I think this one's funny. That's why I'm bringing it up there. Mario said team-oriented system, more like the CAD system where the players like Komarov can take double minors, not miss a shift. But God forbid, if you're under 30 and make a mistake. I literally brought that up just because I know Grumpy would love it, and it's a funny comment. I know Grumpy.
It's 100% true. That's what makes it so funny is it's true.
But he barely touched the guy. Come on. We all know that was one of the biggest dives in the history of the NHL. He barely got touched.
If Matt Barzell does that, he gets benched and he gets bitched out in the post-game press conference. He's done it already. He's done it already.
Oh, come on! I mean, it was like the crowd noise blew him over. That fake crowd noise. He wasn't touched.
Yeah.
You know what? He shouldn't even went near him. Why did he go near him? It was selfish.
Anyway, moving right along there, Grump. Michael Z said, "What's up, boys? Let's get after it this weekend." And Paul W actually is up there. He said, "Grumpy will hoist the cup. No longer the Islanders. Grumpy's about to hoist the cup." I tell you, he's feeling grumpy old man with a lot of positivity there. I'm sure. Brett there. Let's go. Islanders said Islanders in 7. It's going to be a grind. Definitely extremely physical. Varlamov and Sorokin will shine. Let's go Islanders.
I predict the Islanders in 11. I think we could win 4 games out of 11 against Pittsburgh, perhaps. So that's the way that I'm leaning. And Brett, if you listen to the TJ and Grumpy Old Man show tomorrow, you will get to see me wear one of your shirts.
I was about to say that. Shout out to Brett. I love the positivity. And Brett is the man who makes the Drive for 5 hoodies. That's the man right there.
Okay.
There. Yeah. And Wood of Films there says, got here late, but love Coach Tommy. And,
thank you very much.
I think that is a great way to end it on. Again, thank you there, Coach Tommy B. There. Oh, I'm sorry, one more there. Again, this kind of is the same thing. Alex R. there saying Pulak due to the expansion draft, talking about, he's saying maybe they'll expose Pulak, either him.
No way.
No.
I was about to say, so maybe not so much. I'm sorry. We'll end it there on a good note, though. He's saying hello there to Coach Tommy B. Sir, we took up a lot of time there. A long podcast live stream, around 3 hours, longest one we've done so far today. We'll make sure to apologize to all of our significant others for talking with the guys there, talking hockey for so long. What closing comments do you guys have here going in? We've got Coach Tommy B saying 6. We've got Islanders in 6. Grumpy Old Man saying the Penguins in either 5 or 6. What closing comments you guys have?
Go ahead, Tommy.
First off, once again, pleasure to be with you gentlemen on the show tonight. I had a great time, and I love the back and forth that we have. It's great. I think the people love it. And as far as the Islanders, I just tell you guys, it's a better time for Islander fans right now. It really is. I mean, we won't win a cup. It stinks. I get it. But it is a better time to be an Islander fan. Have faith in this series. I really do like how we match up with Pittsburgh. And that's why I picked it in 6. It wasn't a homer pick. I really do. I'm more nervous about Boston. You guys, you heard me earlier. That's the team that I'm scared of. I think we're going to do this round, and then we'll get a few more games in our old barn. And to me right now, go get away from the playoffs for a second. May 8th to me was very special. And being out there at the Coliseum one last time and being in a place that I've grown up in since I was 4 or 5 years old and having a big tailgate of 60, 70 people out there and doing Islander chants and, having all our fans together at that event to say goodbye to a place that is my home away from home and a place that I truly love, win or lose. So as Islander fans, respect the barn, please, and respect the memories. And we'll make new memories in UBS together.
I love it. That's a great. It's a well written there. It's almost like you had that written beforehand, Coach Tommy B. I love it. Absolutely, that's how you know it's there. It's genuine. Grumpy, what comment?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, for Grumpy Old Man fans, we're all Islander fans. We all love the Islanders. We're all part of the same community. But I'm sure the grumpy old man fans know I've had to deal with a couple of these boot-licking Islander weasels who just believe anything they do is right. And, you know, I know it was still a mismatch, but still, I mean, I had to tolerate them both today. And, you know, I'm just going to let you know that it is what it is. We love Tommy Baffi. TJ, you know, we love you too. But we know the truth, and that's okay. And I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you both you guys here for coming on and joining me today to talk Islanders hockey, getting ready here for the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs. A big series here coming up against the Penguins. Will show a lot of indicators as to, I think, what the future team could look like depending on how we do this year in the postseason. I want to thank both of you guys here for joining me. And again, thank you everybody who participated here in the live stream and the podcast. Myself, Grumpy, and Tommy, we love the Islanders. We love talking sports. We love talking the Islanders. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in again. Thank you, Coach Tommy Baffi, and thank you, Grumpy Old Man.